What if Windu isolated Vader's force powers? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Imagine the most powerful force user ever born. Now imagine him completely powerless. No force choke, no telekinesis, no precognition, nothing. Just a burned man in a life support suit, screaming into silence, reaching for power that will never answer. This is what Mace Windu did to Anakin Skywalker. Not kill him, something far worse. He reached into the Chosen One's very soul and ripped his connection to the Force away, strand by strand, permanently. Darth Vader, the Emperor's ultimate weapon, reduced to an ordinary man trapped in a mechanical prison. But here's what no one expected. What happens when a monster loses his power? What does Vader become when the dark side can no longer fuel his rage? When Palpatine realizes his apprentice is useless? And most importantly, what happens when a murderer stripped of everything is forced to confront the man he used to be? Because without the Force clouding his mind, Vader starts to remember. The younglings, Padme, the choices that destroyed everything. And he has children he never knew existed. Children fighting against everything he built. This is the story of a Sith Lord who couldn't touch the Force, a father who couldn't sense his own son, and a redemption that required no supernatural power at all. Just one choice. One human choice. It begins on Mustafar, where everything ends and everything changes. Anakin Skywalker lies on the volcanic slope, his body consumed by flames that leap from the river below. His legs are gone, severed at the knees by Obi-Wan's desperate strike. His left arm ends in a cauterized stump. What remains of him claws at the black rock with his one mechanical hand, dragging himself inch by agonizing inch away from the lava that hungers to consume him entirely. The dark side keeps him alive. Hatred fuels what should be a corpse, pumping blood through veins that should have emptied, forcing air into lungs that should have collapsed. His eyes burn yellow with Sith corruption, and even as flames devour his flesh, he screams not in pain, but in rage. "I hate you." The words tear from Anakin's throat, raw and broken. "I hate you." Obi-Wan stands motionless, tears streaming down his face, cutting tracks through the ash and grime that coats his skin. His lightsaber hangs deactivated at his side. He has won the duel, but looking at the burning ruin of the boy he raised, the brother he loved, he feels nothing like victory. "You were the chosen one," Obi-Wan says, and his voice cracks on every word. "It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness." Anakin's only response is another scream of hatred, his mechanical fingers gouging furrows in the rock as he tries to pull himself toward his former master. The flames climb higher, catching his tunic, spreading across his chest. The smell of burning flesh fills the air, and still he doesn't die. The dark side won't let him. Obi-Wan takes a step back, then another. He should end this. He knows he should. One stroke of his lightsaber would be mercy, would release Anakin from this torment into the embrace of the Force. But he cannot bring himself to do it. He has already cut down his brother, watched him fall into fire, and asking him to deliver the killing blow is asking too much. He is not that strong. "I loved you," Obi-Wan whispers, the words barely audible above the roar of the lava. "You were my brother, Anakin." He turns away. He cannot watch anymore. Each second he remains here, looking at what Anakin has become, is another second his heart shatters into smaller pieces. He thinks of Padme, unconscious on her ship, and knows he must return to her. She is dying too, though from what cause he cannot say. Perhaps her heart simply cannot survive what Anakin has become. Obi-Wan walks away from the lava river, his steps heavy, his soul heavier. Behind him, Anakin continues to burn, continues to scream, continues to hate. The Jedi Master does not look back. He cannot bear to. He believes this is the end. He believes the lava will claim what remains of Anakin Skywalker, that the fires of Mustafar will reduce the Chosen One to ash and memory. He is wrong. But Obi-Wan is not the only Jedi who survived Order 66. He is not the only one who sensed Anakin's fall through the Force, not the only one who tracked that disturbance across the galaxy to this hellish world. High above Mustafar's burning surface, a shuttle drops through the toxic clouds. Its hull glows red with heat, the shields straining against temperatures that would vaporize an unprotected vessel. Inside the cockpit, a single figure grips the control yoke with his one remaining hand, his jaw clenched against the pain that radiates through his entire body. Mace Windu should be dead. The lightning that struck him in Palpatine's office had been enough to kill any ordinary being. The fall from the window, hundreds of stories down through Coruscant's endless cityscape, should have finished what the lightning started. He had crashed through awnings and scaffolding, bounced off speeder lanes and construction platforms, his body breaking and breaking again with each impact. But Mace Windu is not ordinary. He is the master of Varpad, the Jedi who walks the edge between light and dark without falling. He channels darkness without being consumed by it, uses his opponent's fury as fuel for his own power. And in those terrible seconds of falling, he had reached into the Force with everything he had, slowing his descent, cushioning each impact, pouring his remaining strength into simple survival. He had landed in the lower levels of Coruscant, broken but alive. For hours he had lain there, healing what he could, enduring what he couldn't. Around him, the galaxy had descended into chaos. Clone troopers hunted Jedi through the streets. The temple burned on the horizon. And through the Force, he had felt it all. Every death, every betrayal, every lightsaber extinguished. He had felt Anakin most of all. The boy's fall had been like a supernova in the Force, an explosion of darkness so profound it had nearly overwhelmed Windu's already damaged senses. He had felt Anakin march on the temple, had sensed the younglings' terror, and then their silence. He had felt the newly christened Vader board a ship and leave Coruscant, following some dark purpose to the Outer Rim. And Windu had followed. It had taken him precious hours to find a ship, to plot a course, to make the journey to Mustafar. His body screamed for rest, for medical attention, for the Kolto tanks that might save what remained of his shattered form. But there would be time for healing later. First, there was a monster to stop. Now his shuttle descends through Mustafar's atmosphere, and through the viewport, he sees Obi-Wan's ship lifting off from a landing platform near the mining facility. For a moment, he considers hailing the other Jedi, asking for aid in what he plans to do. But no. Obi-Wan has clearly already confronted Anakin, and from the grief radiating from that departing ship, the confrontation did not go well. Better to let Kenobi tend to whatever wounds he carries. This final task belongs to Windu alone. The shuttle settles onto the black sand near the lava river. Its landing struts hissing as they make contact with ground, hot enough to melt standard metals. Windu rises from the pilot's seat, and the movement sends fresh agony through his broken ribs, his fractured pelvis, his burned and blistered skin. He ignores it all. Pain is temporary. What he must do here will echo through eternity. He descends the boarding ramp and steps onto Mustafar's surface. The heat hits him like a physical force, stealing the breath from his lungs, making every wound on his body sing with fresh torment. The air shimmers and dances, distorting his vision. But he doesn't need his eyes to find what he's looking for. Through the Force, he can sense the massive darkness nearby, a black hole of hatred and suffering that pulls at his consciousness like a wound in reality itself. Windu walks toward it. He finds Anakin Skywalker on a slope of volcanic rock, perhaps 100 meters from where Obi-Wan left him. The young man has somehow dragged himself that far, despite having no legs, despite the flames that have consumed most of his body, despite injuries that should have killed him a dozen times over. The dark side's grip on him is absolute, keeping him alive through sheer malevolent will. Windu stands over him, and for a long moment, simply watches. Anakin looks up at him with eyes that burn yellow, in a face that is barely recognizable as human. Most of his hair is gone, his scalp a ruin of charred flesh and exposed bone. His lips have burned away, leaving his teeth exposed in a permanent grimace. The stench of cooked meat fills the air, and still he breathes, still he lives, still he hates. "Come to finish the job?" Anakin rasps, his voice barely human. "Go ahead. Kill me. It's the only thing you Jedi are good for anymore." Windu says nothing. He studies the ruined thing before him, seeing not just the physical devastation, but the spiritual corruption that underlies it. Through the Force, through his mastery of Shatterpoint, he perceives the fractures in reality that surround Anakin Skywalker. The threads of destiny wrapped around him like chains. The connections to Palpatine, to the darkness, to a future drenched in blood and shadow. He sees the prophecy too, the chosen one, meant to bring balance to the Force. But there is no balance in what Anakin has become. There is only darkness, only hatred, only an endless capacity for destruction. Whatever the prophecy meant, whatever balance was supposed to come from Anakin Skywalker, it will not come from this burned and broken vessel of Sith corruption, unless something changes. Windu reaches out with his senses, probing deeper into the web of possibilities that surrounds them both. He has spent decades mastering the ability to perceive shatterpoints, the critical weaknesses in any system or being that, when struck, cause everything to collapse. He has used this power in combat countless times, finding the precise moment to strike that will end a fight in a single blow. Now he searches for something different, not a weakness in Anakin's defenses, but a weakness in his connection to the Force itself. And he finds it. There, buried beneath layers of dark side corruption, tangled in the chains of destiny that bind the Chosen One to his terrible fate, is a point of fracture. A place where Anakin's connection to the Force is not absolute, where the bond between his spirit and the energy field that surrounds all living things shows the faintest hairline crack. In anyone else, such a weakness would be meaningless. But Windu has spent his life learning to exploit such weaknesses. He knows, suddenly, what he can do, what he must do. "Death would be mercy," Windu says slowly, and his voice carries over the roar of the nearby lava. "And you deserve no mercy." Anakin's yellow eyes narrow with something that might be confusion, might be fear. He tries to reach out with the Force, to choke Windu, to throw him into the lava, to do something, anything, to strike at this enemy who dares to stand over him. But he is too weak, too broken, and the attempt amounts to nothing more than a feeble stirring of the air between them. Windu kneels beside him, and Anakin's burned lips twist in what might be a smile. "Can't even kill a dying man with dignity. Have to kneel in the dirt with me. Pathetic." "I'm not here to kill you, Skywalker." "Then what?" Windu places his remaining hand on Anakin's chest, directly over his heart. Even through the burned flesh, Even through the ravaged tissue, he can feel the beat. Faint, irregular, sustained only by the dark side's desperate grip, but present. Where there is life, there is a connection to the Force. And where there is a connection, there is something Windu can sever. I'm here to take everything from you. He closes his eyes and reaches into the Force. The technique is ancient, forbidden, buried in texts that the Jedi Council kept locked in the deepest vaults of the temple. Windu had found them years ago, during his research into the nature of Vapad, seeking to understand how the dark side could be touched without corruption. He had learned many terrible things in those forbidden archives, things no Jedi should know, things he had hoped he would never have to use. The method for severing a being's connection to the Force was the worst of them. It had been used in the ancient wars, when the Jedi and Sith had fought across the galaxy, in conflicts that made the Clone Wars look like border skirmishes. Fallen Jedi, corrupted beyond redemption but too dangerous to simply kill, had been subjected to this process. Their connection to the Force ripped away, leaving them hollow, empty, cut off from the energy that bound all life together. Most had gone mad from the isolation. Some had simply died, their bodies unable to survive without the Force sustaining them. A few had lived on, but as shadows of themselves, ghosts walking in a world they could no longer truly touch. It was considered the cruelest punishment imaginable, worse than death, worse than torture, worse than any physical torment that could be inflicted. To sever a Force-sensitive being from the Force was to condemn them to an existence of absolute loneliness, cut off from the very fabric of reality. Windu begins the process. He reaches into Anakin's spirit, not with his hand, but with his will, with his mastery of the Force, with the power he has spent a lifetime cultivating. He finds the connections that bind Anakin to the energy field, the threads of light and darkness that flow through him like blood through veins. And he begins to cut. Anakin screams, not from the burns this time, not from his severed limbs or his charred flesh. This is a different kind of pain, a pain that transcends the physical, a pain that reaches into the core of his being and tears something essential away. He can feel it happening, feel the Force slipping from his grasp like water through his fingers. The dark side that sustained him begins to fade, its whispered promises growing distant, its comforting embrace of hatred withdrawing. The light side, which he abandoned so completely, flickers and dies entirely. He reaches for power that has been his since birth and finds only emptiness. "No," Anakin gasps, his voice rising to a shriek. "No, you can't do this. You can't." But Windu can. And Windu does. He works methodically, severing each connection with surgical precision. The bond to the cosmic force, which allows perception of the energy field itself, gone. The bond to the living force, which connects all life in a web of shared existence, gone. The ability to touch minds, to move objects, to sense danger, to glimpse the future, gone, 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 gone. Anakin thrashes on the ground, or tries to. His body is too broken for much movement, but his remaining arm flails wildly. His head twists from side to side. His mouth opens and closes in silent screams as the universe itself is ripped away from him. He has felt the Force since before he was born. It has been his constant companion, his source of power, his connection to everything and everyone around him. When he was a slave on Tatooine, the Force had whispered to him that he was meant for greater things. When he had trained at the temple, it had sung through him with every practice swing of his lightsaber. When he had fallen to the dark side, it had embraced him with cold fire. promising him the strength to save everyone he loved. Now, it abandons him, and the silence that follows is the most terrible thing he has ever experienced. Windu feels the moment the last thread snaps, the final connection severs, and suddenly Anakin Skywalker is just Anakin Skywalker. A burned, broken man, lying on volcanic rock, sustained by nothing but his own fading biology. The dark side cannot keep him alive anymore, because the dark side can no longer touch him. The light is equally beyond his reach. He is alone. Truly, absolutely, completely alone. The effort of the severance has cost Windu everything he had left. He collapses backward onto the hot sand, his body giving out, his vision darkening at the edges. The technique was never meant to be performed by a single Jedi, certainly not by one already wounded unto death. But he had no choice. There was no one else left who could do what needed to be done. "How do you feel?" Windu asks, and his voice is barely a whisper. Anakin lies motionless, his yellow eyes fading to their natural blue. Not because he has been redeemed, but because the dark side's corruption can no longer maintain its hold on a vessel it cannot touch. He stares up at the smoke-filled sky, and tears cut tracks through the ash on his ruined face. "Empty," he says. "I feel empty." "Good." Windu pushes himself up onto his elbow, summoning the last reserves of strength that remain to him. He looks down at the man who was supposed to be the chosen one, the hero who would save the galaxy, and sees only a broken shell. "You killed younglings," Windu says, and his voice is cold. "Children who trusted you, who looked up to you, who called you master. You cut them down without mercy." "I did what I had to do." "You did what Palpatine told you to do. And now you will live with it. You will live with every choice you made, every life you took, every betrayal you committed. But you will do it without the Force, without the dark side to cloud your conscience, without the power to hide from your own guilt. You will face what you've done as nothing but a man." Anakin's blue eyes meet his, and there is something in them that might be the beginning of understanding, or perhaps just the beginning of a deeper despair. "Kill me," Anakin whispers. "Please. This is worse than death. I know." Windu rises to his feet, swaying slightly, his vision swimming. The effort of standing nearly drops him back to the ground, but he forces himself to remain upright. He will not die on his knees. Not here. Not in front of the monster he has unmade. "Live with what you've done," he says. "Live with who you are, and do it without the Force to hide behind." He turns and begins walking back toward his shuttle. Each step is agony. Each breath is fire in his lungs. He can feel his body shutting down, the accumulated damage finally claiming what his will has kept functioning for too long. He won't make it back to Coruscant. He probably won't even make it off this planet. But that's acceptable. The work is done. Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, the most powerful Force user ever born, has been reduced to something ordinary, something powerless, something that Palpatine will find far less useful than the Sith apprentice he was promised. Windu collapses halfway to his ship. He lands on his back, staring up at the ash-filled sky, feeling the heat of the ground beneath him seeping through his robes. The Force swirls around him, welcoming, warm despite Mustafar's hellish atmosphere. He can sense the cosmic energy gathering to receive him, to carry his consciousness into the infinite embrace that awaits all Jedi in death. A small smile crosses his face. He has won. Not against Palpatine, not against the Empire that even now rises to dominate the galaxy, but against destiny itself. The dark future he glimpsed through his Shatterpoint visions the galaxy ruled by a Sith Lord and his terrible enforcer, has been altered. Whatever comes next, it will not be what Palpatine planned. Mace Windu, Master of the Jedi Order, closes his eyes and becomes one with the Force. And on the burning sands behind him, Anakin Skywalker lies alone in silence, stripped of everything that made him special, everything that made him powerful, everything that made him matter. Hours pass. The lava continues to flow. The smoke continues to rise. And eventually, another ship descends through Mustafar's atmosphere. Emperor Palpatine emerges with a team of medical droids, his face a mask of eagerness. He has felt his apprentice's distress through the Force, sensed the injuries that have been inflicted, and while part of him mourns the damage to his carefully crafted weapon, another part looks forward to what comes next. The suit he has already designed, the mechanical prison that will keep Vader alive while limiting his potential, will ensure absolute loyalty. A broken apprentice is in some ways more useful than a whole one. But as he approaches the lava river, his confident stride slows. Something is wrong. He can see Vader lying on the volcanic slope, can see the burned and broken body, can see that he still breathes, but he cannot sense him. Through the Force, where Vader should be a blazing beacon of dark side energy, there is only absence, a void, a hole in the fabric of reality where his apprentice should exist. Palpatine's yellow eyes narrow. He reaches out with his power, probing, searching, trying to find some trace of the connection that should be there. Nothing. Vader might as well be a droid or a corpse for all the Force presence he exhibits. The Emperor kneels beside his apprentice, his ancient face showing something it has not displayed in decades. Uncertainty. "What happened to you?" he whispers. Vader's eyes flutter open. They are blue, Palpatine notices, not yellow anymore. The Sith corruption that should be saturating his being has faded entirely. "Windu," Vader rasps. "He did something. I can't feel it anymore. I can't feel anything." "Feel what?" "The Force, the dark side, everything." Vader's remaining hand claws at the empty air. I reach for it, and there's nothing there. Nothing at all. Palpatine sits back on his heels, his mind racing through the implications. He has heard of techniques that could sever a being's connection to the Force, ancient methods from the wars of old. He had thought such knowledge lost, destroyed along with the Sith and Jedi who had once wielded it. But Windu was always exceptional, always delving into forbidden corners of Jedi lore. It seems he found something that should have remained buried. The Emperor considers his options. Without the Force, Vader is useless as an apprentice. He cannot be trained in the ways of the Sith, cannot channel the dark side, cannot serve as the weapon Palpatine spent decades forging. The investment of time and effort that went into corrupting Anakin Skywalker, turning him from Jedi hero to Sith enforcer, has been rendered worthless in a single stroke. He could leave Vader here to die. The burns, the severed limbs, the accumulated trauma would claim him within hours without medical intervention. It would be the practical choice, the efficient choice. Cut his losses and begin again with a new apprentice, one whose potential has not been permanently crippled. But as Palpatine looks down at the broken man before him, a different thought occurs. A crueler thought, a more satisfying thought. Vader has failed him. The carefully constructed Sith apprentice has been undone before he could serve his purpose. Such failure deserves punishment. And what punishment could be worse than what Windu has already inflicted? To be cut off from the Force, to live as something ordinary, something powerless, something less than what he was meant to be. And yet, Vader still has value, not as a Force user, but as a symbol. The galaxy will learn to fear Darth Vader. The mask, the suit, the reputation, none of that requires actual Force abilities. And keeping Vader alive, keeping him in servitude, forcing him to watch as Palpatine builds his empire, without him, that has an appeal all its own. A slow smile crosses Sidious's face. "Bring him," he orders the medical droids. "Stabilize him. Keep him alive." One of the droids beeps an acknowledgement and begins moving toward the burned body. Another prepares a medical capsule for transport. Vader looks up at his master, confusion evident even through his ruined features. "Why? I'm useless to you now." "Usefulness takes many forms, Lord Vader. You will still serve the Empire. You will still wear the mask. You will still be my enforcer." Palpatine's smile widens. "You simply won't enjoy any of the benefits that were meant to come with that position." "I don't understand." "You don't need to understand. You need only obey." The medical droids lift Vader's body onto a hovering stretcher, their mechanical arms surprisingly gentle as they secure his remaining limbs. Pain suppressants flood his system, dulling the agony of his burns but doing nothing for the deeper emptiness that yawns within him. As they carry him toward Palpatine's shuttle, Vader turns his head to look back at the lava river. Somewhere out there, Windu's body lies cooling on the volcanic sand. The man who took everything from him, who condemned him to this hollow existence, is dead. But Vader cannot even feel satisfaction at that knowledge. He cannot feel much of anything. The Force, which once filled him with power and purpose and connection to everything in the universe, is simply gone. He is alone. And he will be alone for the rest of his life. The medical facility on Coruscant is the most advanced in the galaxy, staffed by the finest surgeons and equipped with technology that can rebuild nearly anything. They work on Vader for 18 hours straight, replacing what can be replaced, removing what cannot be saved, constructing the life support system that will keep him breathing. The suit they build is different from what might have existed in another timeline. In that other future, Palpatine would have designed it with hidden limitations, ways to restrict Vader's Force potential and keep him dependent on his master. Here, such precautions are unnecessary. The suit is purely functional, designed to keep a burned and broken man alive, nothing more. When they seal the helmet into place and activate the respirator, the sound that fills the room is something that will become iconic across the galaxy. A rhythmic hiss and rasp, mechanical breathing that marks the presence of Darth Vader. But for Vader himself, the sound is simply another reminder of what he has lost. In another life, he might have enhanced his breathing through the Force, used his connection to the dark side to strengthen his damaged lungs. Now he is entirely dependent on machines. The medical droids step back, their work complete. Before Vader stands a full-length mirror, installed at Palpatine's orders. The Emperor wants his apprentice to see what he has become. The reflection shows a towering figure in black armor, a helmet that hides every trace of the man beneath, mechanical hands that will never feel true sensation again, a chest plate that contains the life support systems, keeping his organs functioning. He looks terrifying. He looks powerful. He is neither. Vader raises one hand, watching the mechanical fingers flex in the mirror. In another life, he would feel the Force flowing through those prosthetics, would be able to crush a man's throat with a gesture or hurl objects across a room with a thought. Now the hand is just a hand. Sophisticated, yes. Strong, certainly. But ordinary. He tries, one more time, to reach for the Force. He closes his eyes and extends his senses, searching for the energy field he has known since before birth. There should be something there. Even the faintest whisper, the smallest connection, anything at all. There is nothing. The silence is absolute, complete, eternal. Vader opens his eyes and looks at his reflection, and behind the mask, a scream builds in his throat. It never emerges. The vocabulator would distort it anyway, transform it into something mechanical and meaningless. So he swallows it down, adds it to the growing mass of pain and rage and despair that fills the empty space where the Force used to be. The door behind him slides open, and Palpatine enters. The Emperor moves slowly, leaning on a cane he doesn't actually need, playing the part of the kindly old man he shows to the public. But here, in private, his yellow eyes gleam with cruel amusement. "How do you feel, Lord Vader?" The same question Windu asked, and Vader's answer is the same. "Empty? Yes, I imagine so." Palpatine circles him slowly, examining the suit from every angle. "But you will adapt. You must adapt. The Empire has need of its enforcer, even a diminished one. What would you have me do? I cannot hunt Jedi. I cannot sense them, cannot anticipate their attacks, cannot match their powers. You underestimate yourself. Or perhaps you overestimate the importance of the Force." Palpatine stops in front of him, looking up at the mask that now serves as Vader's face. "Fear, Lord Vader, is a weapon that requires no supernatural ability. The galaxy will learn to fear Darth Vader. They will see the mask, hear the breathing, and know that death approaches. They need never know that the man behind the mask is merely that, a man. And if they discover the truth, then we will ensure they do not live to share it." Palpatine smiles. "Besides, your condition has certain advantages. The Jedi who survived my purge will search for you through the Force. They will hunt for the dark presence they expect you to have, and they will find nothing. You are invisible to their senses in a way no Sith has ever been. That invisibility can be a weapon if you learn to use it properly." Vader considers this. The Emperor is right, of course. A Jedi reaching out through the Force would sense nothing from him. No darkness, no light, no presence at all. He could walk into a room full of Force users, and none of them would perceive him as anything other than another ordinary being. It is cold comfort, but it is something. "I will serve," Vader says finally, "because I have no other choice." How refreshingly honest. Most would dress their obedience in the language of loyalty and dedication. Palpatine turns away, walking toward the door. "Your first assignment awaits, Lord Vader. A group of Jedi survivors has been located on Bracca. You will take a detachment of troops and eliminate them. Without the Force, how am I supposed to defeat trained Jedi?" Palpatine pauses at the door, looking back over his shoulder. "That, Lord Vader, is your problem to solve. But I suggest you solve it quickly. The Empire has no use for those who cannot fulfill their purpose." He leaves, and Vader stands alone in the medical bay, staring at his reflection. The mask stares back, expressionless, giving nothing away. He has no idea how he's going to kill Jedi without the Force to guide him. But he knows that failure is not an option. Palpatine's patience has limits, and Vader has already tested them severely. If he cannot prove his value through other means, he will be discarded like a broken tool. The thought of death holds no fear for him anymore. In many ways, death would be welcome. But some stubborn part of him, some remnant of the man he used to be, refuses to simply surrender. If he must live as this hollow shell, he will find a way to make that existence mean something, even if it means becoming something entirely new. The transport ship descends toward Braca, a world of endless junkyards and salvage operations. Massive starships lie scattered across the surface, like the bones of dead giants, being slowly stripped for parts by armies of workers. It is a gray, miserable planet, perfect for hiding. The Jedi chose well. Vader stands in the transport staging area, surrounded by a squad of stormtroopers. They look at him with expressions hidden behind their own helmets, but he can sense their nervousness. Or rather, he could sense it once. Now he can only read their body language, the slight shifting of feet, the tightening of grips on their weapons. "Lord Vader," the squad leader says, "we've received intelligence that the Jedi are hiding in the wreckage of a Venator-class Star Destroyer. Approximately 6 survivors, plus an unknown number of sympathizers. 6 Jedi. In another life, Vader would have seen this as an opportunity, a chance to test his power against worthy opponents. He would have reached out through the Force, located their exact positions, sensed their fear, and used it against them. He would have walked through their defenses like they weren't there, his lightsaber cutting down anyone who stood in his way. Now he will have to do this the old-fashioned way. "Surround the wreckage," Vader orders. "Cut off all escape routes. I want sniper teams on the high ground and heavy weapons positioned at every potential exit. They do not leave this place alive." "Understood, Lord Vader." The transport lands at the edge of the salvage yard, and the troops deploy with practiced efficiency. Vader watches them take their positions, arranging the pieces on the board. This is a different kind of warfare than he's used to, relying on soldiers and tactics rather than personal power. But it is not entirely unfamiliar. He led troops during the Clone Wars, commanded armies across dozens of worlds. The skills are rusty, but present. Once the perimeter is established, Vader moves toward the wreckage himself. The Venator lies on its side, one wing buried in the earth, the other pointing toward the gray sky. Great holes have been cut in its hull by salvage crews, providing multiple entry points. But Vader does not enter through any of them. Instead, he climbs. His mechanical limbs are stronger than organic ones would be, and the suit's servomotors amplify his already considerable strength. He scales the hull quickly, moving from handhold to handhold until he reaches the upper surface. From here, he can see the entire salvage yard spread out below him, his troops positioned like chess pieces around the downed ship. He also has a clear view into the Venator's interior through a massive breach in the hull. The Jedi are there. 6 of them, just as intelligence reported, huddled in what was once the ship's bridge. They have no idea he's watching. Why would they? A Sith Lord should be detectable from kilometers away, a blazing beacon of dark side energy. They are probably reaching out even now, searching for that presence, trying to locate the threat they know must be coming. They find nothing, because there is nothing to find. Vader studies them carefully. 2 older Jedi, likely knights who survived Order 66 through luck or cunning. 3 younger ones, probably Padawans who escaped the Temple massacre. And one who seems to be leading them, a female Twi'lek with the bearing of someone who has seen considerable combat. In another life, he would leap down into their midst, lightsaber blazing, and cut them all down before they could organize a defense. His speed and power would be overwhelming, his connection to the dark side making him nearly invincible. Now he has to think differently. He activates his comlink. "Squad leader, I want concentrated fire on the bridge section in 30 seconds. High explosive rounds." "Lord Vader, you're directly above that position. The blast might..." "I am aware of my position. Execute the order." "Yes, Lord Vader." Vader moves, scrambling across the hull to a safer position. 20 seconds later, the night erupts with fire. Heavy weapons platforms open up on the bridge section, their explosive rounds tearing through the already damaged structure. Inside, the Jedi scatter, diving for cover as their hiding place is torn apart around them. They have to run. Their position is compromised, their shelter destroyed. And when they run directly into the trap Vader has prepared. He watches from above as they emerge from the wreckage, lightsabers ignited, deflecting the blaster fire that immediately targets them. They're good, he has to admit. Their movements are economical, efficient, the product of years of training. Any normal troops would be cut down in seconds, but Vader has planned for this. Sniper teams target the two on the left. Continuous fire, keep them pinned. Heavy weapons, suppressive barrage on the right flank. Infantry, advance in squads, and maintain distance. The Jedi find themselves caught in a crossfire that they cannot escape through simple deflection. There are too many shots coming from too many angles. Every time they try to advance, heavy weapons force them back. Every time they try to retreat, snipers pick at them. They deflect desperately, their lightsabers blurring, but they're being herded, driven toward Vader. He drops from the hull, landing behind them with a crash that announces his presence. His lightsaber ignites, the red blade casting crimson light across the salvage yard. The Jedi spin to face him, and he sees the moment they reach out through the Force to assess this new threat. He sees the confusion on their faces when they find nothing. "What are you?" the Twi'lek demands, her voice tight with uncertainty. "I can't sense you at all. I am Darth Vader, and I am the last thing you will ever see." He attacks. Without the Force to guide him, he cannot anticipate their moves, cannot feel their intentions before they act. But he has other advantages. Decades of combat experience, a body that feels no pain, no fatigue, no hesitation, and the knowledge of exactly how Jedi fight, because he used to be one of them. His lightsaber crashes against the Twi'lek's blade, and she staggers under the impact. He is stronger than she expected, and without Force senses to warn her of his attacks, she is constantly on the defensive. The other Jedi try to assist, but Vader has positioned himself carefully, keeping the Twi'lek between himself and her allies. They cannot attack him without risking her. He presses the advantage ruthlessly, his blade a blur of red light. The Twi'lek is skilled, but she's fighting blind. Every Jedi instinct tells her to rely on the Force for guidance, but the Force tells her nothing about this opponent. He is a void, a gap in reality, and she has no idea how to fight something that doesn't exist. Vader finds an opening and takes it. His blade slips past her guard and cuts deep into her shoulder. She cries out and stumbles, and before she can recover, he brings the blade down again. The Twi'lek falls. The other Jedi scream in rage and charge him. 5 against 1, and without the Force, the odds should be impossible. But Vader has trained for this moment. In the weeks since his awakening in the medical bay, he has done nothing but prepare for exactly this scenario. He fights not like a Sith, relying on overwhelming power, but like a soldier, using the terrain and his enemies' emotions against them. He retreats, drawing them after him, letting their anger make them sloppy. When one of the younger Padawans overextends, Vader cuts him down without hesitation. 4 left. He continues to fall back, and now his troops close in from behind. The Jedi are caught between Vader and a wall of blaster fire, and their desperation grows. One of the older knights tries to break through the stormtrooper line, and for a moment, it looks like he might succeed. Vader throws his lightsaber. It is a move that any Force user could counter, would sense coming and dodge easily. But the knight is not expecting it, because no one throws their lightsaber without the Force to guide it back. The blade spins through the air and catches him in the back, and he falls. 3 left. Vader retrieves his weapon and advances. The remaining Jedi cluster together, their lightsabers forming a desperate defense. They are young, terrified, facing a nightmare they cannot understand. This is not how Sith are supposed to fight. This is not how anything works. Surrender, Vader offers, and the word surprises even him. You cannot win this engagement. Lay down your weapons and I will grant you quick deaths. We will never surrender to you, one of the Padawans spits. We know what you did to the temple, to the younglings. The mention of the younglings hits Vader like a physical blow. In another life, the dark side would have swallowed that guilt, transformed it into fuel for his rage. Now it simply sits in his chest, cold and heavy and inescapable. He killed children. He remembers their faces. He cannot hide from that anymore. Then you will die tired, he says, and attacks. The fight is brutal and short. The Padawans are brave but outmatched, and without a master to guide them, their coordination falls apart under pressure. Vader picks them off one by one, not through superior force powers, but through experience and utterly merciless efficiency. When the last one falls, he stands alone in the salvage yard, surrounded by bodies and the smell of ozone. His troops approach cautiously, uncertain of what to make of what they've witnessed. Lord Vader, the squad leader says, that was impressive. That was necessary. Vader deactivates his lightsaber and looks down at the fallen Jedi. 6 lives ended, and he feels nothing but the weight of their addition to the countless deaths already on his conscience. Report to command. Tell them Bracca is secured. Yes, Lord Vader. As the troops move to carry out his orders, Vader turns away from the bodies. He has proven that he can still kill Jedi, even without the Force. He has demonstrated his value to the Emperor, bought himself more time to exist in this hollow state. But as he walks back toward the transport, he cannot shake the feeling that something has changed within him. The rage that used to fuel him, the dark side fire that burned in his chest, is simply not there. What remains is something colder, more calculating, a determination to survive, yes, but also something else, something that might, in time, become doubt. The nights are the worst. In his meditation chamber, sealed away from the world, Vader removes his helmet and tries to rest. The suit maintains his vital functions, even during sleep, but it cannot quiet his mind. It cannot stop the dreams. He dreams of the temple. The corridors stretch endlessly before him, dark and silent, except for the hum of his lightsaber and the distant screams of the dying. He walks through halls he once knew intimately, past training rooms where he sparred with friends, past meditation chambers where he sought guidance, past the creche where the youngest Jedi learned their first lessons. In the dream, the younglings are still alive. They huddle in a corner, their eyes wide with terror, their small hands clutching practice sabers that cannot save them. One of them, a human boy no older than 5, steps forward. "Master Skywalker," the boy says, his voice trembling. "What should we do?" Anakin tries to answer, tries to tell them to run, to hide, to do anything other than trust him. But his body moves without his consent, his lightsaber rising, his arms swinging in an arc that will. He wakes screaming, or as close to screaming as his vocabulator allows. The sound that emerges is mechanical, distorted, nothing like a human voice. But the emotion behind it is all too real. The dream comes every night. Sometimes there are variations. Sometimes Padme is there, watching him slaughter children, her face twisted with horror and betrayal. Sometimes Obi-Wan stands in judgment, his eyes sad and disappointed. Sometimes the younglings fight back, and he cuts them down anyway, one by one, until the floor is slick with blood. He has tried everything to stop the dreams. Meditation techniques from his Jedi training, Sith practices designed to transform guilt into power, chemical suppressants that should induce dreamless sleep. Nothing works. The dreams come regardless, forcing him to relive his worst moments over and over again. In another life, the dark side would have shielded him, would have wrapped his guilt in layers of rage and hatred, would have transformed his shame into fuel for greater darkness. But Windu severed that protection, along with everything else. Now Vader faces his crimes with nothing between him and the truth. He is a child killer, a monster, the worst kind of traitor to everything he once believed. And he has to live with that knowledge, every moment of every day, without the mercy of forgetting. Some nights, after the dreams wake him, he simply sits in the darkness and tries to remember the man he used to be. The boy who raced pods on Tatooine, dreaming of freedom and adventure. The Padawan who wanted nothing more than to be a good Jedi, to help people, to make his master proud. The young man who fell in love with a senator and believed, truly believed, that love could overcome anything. That man seems impossibly distant now, a character from a story, a fiction that has nothing to do with the monster in the mask. And yet, somewhere deep inside, Vader knows they are the same person. The boy became, the man became, the monster. Each transformation flowing naturally from the one before. If he had made different choices, would things have ended differently? If he had trusted Obi-Wan, confided in Yoda, refused Palpatine's seductions, if he had simply accepted that death comes for everyone, even those we love, and learned to let go. He will never know. The path not taken is lost forever, one of infinite possibilities that collapsed into the singular reality of his crimes. All he has now is the path ahead. And slowly, painfully, he is beginning to see where it might lead. The years that follow are unlike anything the galaxy expected. Darth Vader becomes a figure of terror, but a different kind of terror than might have existed in another timeline. He cannot sweep through enemy ranks with telekinetic fury. He cannot choke officers from across the room with a gesture. He cannot sense rebellions before they happen, or pluck secrets from the minds of prisoners. But he finds other ways to inspire fear. The lack of Force presence becomes his greatest weapon. Jedi survivors learn to search for the darkness that should herald his approach, reaching out through their connection to sense the Sith Lord coming. They find nothing. Vader appears without warning, a void in the Force that gives no indication of its presence until it's too late. He adapts his tactics accordingly. Where once he might have charged into battle relying on supernatural reflexes, now he plans meticulously. He studies his enemies, learns their habits, identifies their weaknesses. When he strikes, it is with overwhelming force and perfect timing, leaving no room for his targets to use their Force abilities effectively. One such strike takes him to Kashyyyk, where intelligence suggests a cell of Jedi survivors has established a hidden enclave among the Wookiees. The towering trees provide cover, the loyal natives provide protection, and the distance from Imperial trade routes provides obscurity. None of it is enough. Vader arrives with a legion of stormtroopers and a fleet of gunships. But he does not simply bomb the forests from orbit, as Tarkin would prefer. That would destroy the Jedi, yes, but it would also destroy any chance of understanding how they survived, where else they might be hiding, who else might be helping them. Instead, he lands his forces at the edge of the forest, and begins a methodical sweep inward. The Wookiees fight bravely, their bowcasters claiming dozens of stormtroopers, but they cannot stop an Imperial legion. Vader walks at the head of the advance, his lightsaber carving through any resistance, his armor shrugging off attacks that would kill an unprotected human. The Jedi know he is coming. They must, even if they cannot sense him directly. The sounds of battle, the reports from Wookiee scouts, the simple logic of military tactics, all point to an approaching threat. They will have prepared defenses, set traps, established positions where their Force abilities give them the greatest advantage. Vader walks into those positions anyway. The first trap is a massive tree, rigged to fall across the Imperial advance. The Jedi trigger it with the Force, and Vader barely manages to dive aside as thousands of tons of wood come crashing down. Stormtroopers are not so lucky. Dozens are crushed, their screams cut short by the impact. The second trap is more subtle. An illusion, projected through the Force, showing a clear path through the undergrowth. In reality, the path leads to a cliff edge hidden by vegetation. Vader recognizes the trick only because he cannot see the illusion at all. Where his troops see open ground, he sees nothing but a gray void where the Force-created image should be. "Halt," he orders. "The path ahead is false." The stormtroopers freeze, confused but obedient. Vader gestures for them to go around, taking a longer route but one that does not end in a fatal drop. The third trap is simply the Jedi themselves. They emerge from the trees like ghosts, 5 robed figures with lightsabers blazing. They move with perfect coordination, clearly well-trained, clearly ready for this moment. Their attack comes from all sides, blades flashing in patterns designed to overwhelm any single defender. Vader falls back, letting his troops take the initial assault. Blaster fire erupts from all directions, forcing the Jedi to divide their attention between attacking and deflecting. In those moments of divided focus, Vader strikes. His lightsaber catches the nearest Jedi across the back, dropping him instantly. The others spin to face this new threat, abandoning their coordinated attack in favor of protecting each other. But they have trained to fight Force users, to anticipate attacks through precognition, to sense danger before it arrives. They have not trained to fight a void. Vader is invisible to their abilities in a way that nothing in their experience has prepared them for. They cannot feel him coming, cannot predict his movements, cannot sense his intentions. They fight blind against an opponent who has spent years learning to exploit exactly that weakness. The battle is brutal and ugly. One Jedi manages to score a hit on Vader's arm, cutting through the armor and damaging the prosthetic beneath. Another nearly takes his head with a spinning strike that he blocks only by instinct. They are skilled, these survivors, hardened by years of running and hiding and fighting for their lives. But in the end, it is not enough. Vader stands amid the fallen, his lightsaber hissing against the moisture in the air. 5 Jedi, all dead, the Enclave destroyed, the Wookiee resistance broken. Another victory for the Empire, another weight on his conscience. He orders his troops to search the Enclave for any intelligence, any indication of other survivors or hidden cells. Then he walks to the edge of a cliff overlooking the forest, and for a long moment simply stands there, watching the smoke rise from the battlefield below. He could have let them go, could have reported the Enclave destroyed without actually destroying it, as he has done before with smaller targets. But there were too many witnesses this time, too many stormtroopers who would report any deviation from orders. The Jedi had to die, or Vader's treachery would have been exposed. That knowledge doesn't make the killing any easier to bear. He thinks about the life he is leading, the double existence of murderer and saboteur. Every day he kills for the Empire, and every night he undermines it. He saves some targets and destroys others, playing a game of impossible calculus where the stakes are measured in human lives. How many more must die before his plans come to fruition? How many more Jedi? How many more rebels? How many more innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire of his secret war? He doesn't know, and that uncertainty haunts him almost as much as the killing. The Inquisitors regard him with thinly veiled contempt. They know the truth about their master's enforcer, know that the terrifying Darth Vader is actually a powerless shell wearing intimidating armor. Some of them are foolish enough to believe this makes him vulnerable. The Grand Inquisitor is the first to test that theory. The confrontation happens on Nur, the Inquisitor's fortress world, 6 months after Mustafar. The Grand Inquisitor has been growing increasingly bold, undermining Vader's authority, suggesting to Palpatine that perhaps a true Force user should lead the hunt for surviving Jedi. Vader decides to address this situation personally. He finds the Grand Inquisitor in the fortress's training chamber, practicing combat forms against a series of droids. The Padawan moves with lethal grace, his spinning double-bladed lightsaber cutting through the training dummies with ease. When Vader enters, he deactivates his weapon, but does not bow. "Lord Vader, to what do I owe this unexpected visit?" "I have heard rumors," Vader says, his voice perfectly level. "Whispers that you question my fitness to command." The Grand Inquisitor's eyes narrow. "I question nothing. I merely observe. And my observations suggest that an enforcer without the Force is somewhat limited in his effectiveness. A common misconception. Is it? Tell me, Lord Vader, when was the last time you actually fought a Jedi yourself? You bring overwhelming numbers to every engagement, bombard positions from orbit, use every tactical advantage except the one that matters. Where is the raw power that should belong to a Sith Lord?" Vader says nothing. He simply stands there, a dark statue in the center of the training chamber, his mechanical breathing the only sound. The Grand Inquisitor takes his silence as confirmation. A smile crosses his face, showing pointed teeth. "The rumors are true, then. Windu did more damage than the Emperor admits. You are nothing but an empty suit, Vader. A symbol without substance. Perhaps that is all you have to say. I was merely agreeing with your assessment of the situation. You believe me to be powerless, weak, incapable of posing a threat to someone with genuine Force abilities. Because you are. Then you should have no concerns about a demonstration." The Grand Inquisitor's smile widens. He has wanted this for months, a chance to prove himself superior to the former Jedi who supposedly commands him. With Vader exposed as a fraud, the Inquisitors could take their rightful place at the Emperor's side, and he would lead them. He ignites his lightsaber, the red blades spinning to life with their distinctive whine. "I accept your challenge, Lord Vader. Let us see how long you last without the Force to protect you." Vader's lightsaber ignites in response. A single, steady blade against the Grand Inquisitor's spinning display. They circle each other slowly, and the Grand Inquisitor reaches out through the Force to assess his opponent. He finds nothing. No presence, no intention, no future. Vader is a blank space in the universe, impossible to predict, impossible to anticipate. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crosses the Padawan's face. "What are you?" "I am what Windu made me," Vader replies. "Now, shall we begin?" The Grand Inquisitor attacks. His spinning blade is meant to overwhelm, the dual ends creating a web of red light that should be impossible to track. Against any normal opponent, it would be devastating. Against a Jedi, who might sense the blade's position through the Force, it would still present a significant challenge. Against Vader, it is simply a distraction. In the months since Bracca, Vader has done nothing but train. He has studied combat techniques from across the galaxy, analyzed the fighting styles of every Force tradition, prepared for exactly this kind of engagement. The Grand Inquisitor's spinning blade looks impressive, but it has weaknesses, predictable patterns, moments of vulnerability during transitions, openings that a sufficiently skilled opponent can exploit. Vader waits for such an opening, and when it comes, he strikes. His blade slides past the Grand Inquisitor's defense and scores a deep cut across his arm. The Padawan hisses in pain and leaps back, his eyes wide with shock. That's not possible. I should have sensed that coming. You should have sensed a lot of things. Your reliance on the Force has made you weak, Inquisitor. You've forgotten how to fight without it. The Grand Inquisitor snarls and attacks again, this time abandoning the spinning technique in favor of more direct strikes. He is faster than Vader, more agile, unburdened by the heavy suit of life support equipment. He rains blows down from every angle, trying to overwhelm through sheer speed. But Vader has fought faster opponents. He has battled Jedi Masters whose movements blurred with Force-enhanced speed. He knows how to defend against attacks he cannot match, using efficient movements and superior positioning to negate the speed advantage. The Grand Inquisitor presses harder, reaching deep into the dark side for strength. Lightning crackles along his blade as he channels his rage into each strike. This is power that Vader can no longer access, can no longer counter in kind, so he doesn't try to counter it. When the lightning comes, Vader is ready. His suit's systems have been modified extensively, grounding circuits installed specifically for this scenario. The energy courses through him, painful but not debilitating, and he pushes forward into the attack rather than retreating. The Grand Inquisitor expects him to fall back. Everyone falls back from Force lightning. But Vader advances, accepting the pain, closing the distance until his blade is inside the Padawan's guard. The strike is simple, economical, lethal. The Grand Inquisitor's eyes widen as he looks down at the red blade emerging from his chest. He tries to speak, but only blood comes out. Vader holds the position for a moment, then withdraws his weapon and lets the body fall. He looks down at the fallen Inquisitor, feeling nothing but tired satisfaction. Another enemy eliminated. Another demonstration that power comes in many forms, and Vader has simply found different forms than the ones he lost. The other Inquisitors watch from the shadows, having sensed or witnessed the confrontation. Vader turns to face them, his blade still ignited. Does anyone else wish to question my authority? None of them move. None of them speak. I thought not. Return to your duties. They scatter like frightened children, and Vader deactivates his lightsaber. The Grand Inquisitor's body will serve as a reminder to anyone else who thinks his condition makes him vulnerable. He may have lost the Force, but he has gained something perhaps equally valuable: the freedom to be underestimated. But while Vader adapts externally, internally he is being slowly destroyed. The silence never becomes familiar. Every day he wakes from troubled sleep to find it waiting for him, that absolute absence where the Force should be. He reaches for it instinctively, the way a man might reach for a missing limb, and finds only emptiness. The pain of that absence never diminishes. Worse than the silence is what it leaves behind. Without the dark side to fuel his rage, Vader finds that the anger is harder to maintain. The Sith corruption that kept his hatred burning at fever pitch has been severed along with everything else. What remains is something far more difficult to bear. Guilt. He remembers the younglings, not through a haze of dark side justification, not filtered through Palpatine's manipulations, but clearly as the events actually happened. He remembers their faces as he entered the temple chamber, the hope in their eyes as they recognized him, Anakin Skywalker, the hero with no fear, come to rescue them from the attacking clones. He remembers the moment that hope turned to terror, the moment they understood what was happening, the moment his lightsaber cut through the first of them. In his quarters, alone, Vader removes his helmet and screams. The sound is raw and broken, emerging from lungs that barely function without mechanical assistance. It accomplishes nothing. There is no one to hear, no one to care. The younglings are still dead, and he is still their murderer. He thinks of Padme. In the first weeks after Mustafar, he had demanded information about her fate. Palpatine told him, with evident relish, that she had died in childbirth, that Vader's own actions had killed her, his force choke on Mustafar damaging her and the baby beyond repair. For a time, that knowledge had been another source of rage, another crime to lay at Obi-Wan's feet, at the Jedi's feet, at everyone except himself. The dark side had helped him maintain that delusion, helped him believe that others were responsible for his loss. Now, without that comfortable hatred, the truth is inescapable. He killed her. Not directly, perhaps, but his betrayal, his fall, his violence on Mustafar had destroyed everything she was. She had died of a broken heart, the medical droids said. Died because the man she loved had become something monstrous. Vader sits in his meditation chamber, helmet in his hands, and weeps for the first time since the suit was sealed. The tears burn against his scarred skin. They accomplish nothing, change nothing, fix nothing. Padme is still dead. The younglings are still dead. The Jedi Order lies in ruins, and Anakin Skywalker has become the very thing he swore to destroy. But something shifts in those moments of raw grief. Something loosens in the chains that bind him to his current existence. He cannot change the past, cannot undo his crimes, cannot bring back those he murdered, cannot restore what was lost. But the future remains unwritten. Every day he continues to serve the Empire. He adds to the mountain of atrocities that define his legacy. What if he simply stopped? The thought is dangerous. Palpatine would never allow it, would hunt him down and destroy him the moment he showed signs of rebellion. And even if he could escape, what would be the point? He is a burned, broken man, in a suit of life support equipment, cut off from the Force, despised by everyone who knows what he's done. But the thought persists, and gradually, over months and years, it begins to grow. He starts questioning orders, not openly, not in ways that would alert Palpatine's suspicions, but internally. When he is commanded to destroy a rebellious city, he wonders if there might be another way. When he is told to execute prisoners, he looks for reasons to spare them. He doesn't act on these doubts. Not yet. The habit of obedience is too strong, the fear of Palpatine's wrath too deeply ingrained. But the doubts themselves represent something new. Without the dark side to suppress his conscience, Vader's humanity begins to resurface. And humanity, he is discovering, is a far more complicated thing than hatred. Before Tarkin notices the changes in Vader, there is another confrontation, one that cuts deeper than any military engagement, one that reaches into the past and pulls forth ghosts that Vader thought he had buried forever. Ahsoka Tano finds him. The former Jedi Padawan, now an agent of the fledgling rebellion operating under the codename Fulcrum, has been tracking Imperial movements for years. She has gathered intelligence, coordinated cells, helped build the network that will eventually challenge Palpatine's rule. And through all of it, she has avoided direct confrontation with the Empire's most feared enforcer. She knows who Vader was. She figured it out years ago, piecing together clues from intelligence reports and her own deep knowledge of Anakin Skywalker. The fighting style visible in security footage, the tactical patterns that mirror Clone Wars campaigns she served in, the way certain survivors described their encounters, speaking of a darkness that felt almost familiar. Vader is Anakin, her master, her friend, the man she trusted more than almost anyone in the galaxy. The knowledge has haunted her. She has dreamed of confronting him, of demanding answers, of somehow reaching the person he used to be. But she has always been too afraid. Afraid of what she might find, afraid of what she might have to do. Now circumstances have forced her hand. A rebel cell has been captured on Malachor, taken to a facility where Vader personally oversees interrogations. Among the prisoners is a young Force sensitive that Ahsoka has been mentoring, a girl with potential that reminds her painfully of herself at that age. She cannot abandon this child to Vader's mercy. She infiltrates the facility alone, using skills honed over decades of survival. The guards pose little challenge. The security systems are easily bypassed. She moves through the corridors like a ghost, following the Force toward the detention level. And then she feels something that stops her cold. Nothing. She extends her senses, searching for the dark presence that should mark Vader's location. The oppressive weight of the dark side that all survivors describe. The malevolent power that crushed so many of her fellow Jedi. There is nothing there. A void where Vader should be. An absence so profound it makes her question her own sanity. She rounds a corner and finds him standing in the corridor, as if he was waiting for her. The black mask, the mechanical breathing, the towering figure that has become the symbol of Imperial terror. But, through the Force, he is invisible. A gap in reality, a hole in the fabric of existence. Ahsoka Tano, Vader says, and despite the vocabulator's distortion, she can hear something underneath. Something almost like recognition, almost like pain. I wondered when you would come. Anakin. She ignites her white lightsabers, the blades casting pale light across the corridor. What happened to you? Anakin Skywalker is dead. No, I don't believe that. I felt him die, but I also felt something survive. Something that should be standing right in front of me. But instead, there's just nothing. Vader is silent for a long moment. His mechanical breathing fills the space between them, rhythmic and cold. What do you sense when you reach for me, Ahsoka? Nothing. It's like you don't exist at all. That is because, in a way, I don't. Mace Windu severed my connection to the Force on Mustafar. Whatever I was, whatever I might have become, died in that moment. Ahsoka's grip on her lightsabers wavers. This is not what she expected, not what she prepared for. She came here ready to face a Sith Lord, a dark side monster who wore her master's face. Instead, she faces something far stranger, a man who cannot touch the Force at all. How is that possible? Ancient techniques, forbidden knowledge. Windu used my moment of weakness to do what no one else could. He took everything from me. Good. The word comes out before Ahsoka can stop it, and she sees Vader flinch. After what you did to the temple, to the younglings, you deserved worse. I know. The simple acknowledgement throws her off balance. She expected denial, justification, the twisted logic of the dark side that transforms atrocities into necessities. Not this. You know? I remember everything I did, Ahsoka. Every face, every scream, every moment of terror that I caused. Vader's voice is steady, but something underneath trembles. The dark side used to help me forget, used to transform my guilt into rage, my shame into hatred. Now I have nothing to hide behind. I live with what I did every moment of every day. That's not enough. Living with it isn't justice. No, it isn't. They stand there, former master and apprentice, separated by years of betrayal and atrocity. Ahsoka's lightsabers remain ignited, but she has not attacked. Some part of her still sees the man who taught her, who believed in her, who defended her when the Jedi Council turned against her. The prisoners, she finally says. I came here for them. Take them. What? Take the prisoners and go. I will not stop you. Ahsoka stares at him, searching for the trick, the trap, the hidden blade. Why? Because I am tired. Tired of serving an empire I no longer believe in. Tired of adding to the mountain of crimes that define my existence. Tired of being the monster that everyone expects me to be. Then stop being that monster. Join the rebellion. Help us fight. Vader shakes his head slowly. I cannot. Palpatine watches me constantly. If I openly defected, he would hunt me down and destroy everyone I tried to help. My unique condition makes me invisible to his Force visions, but only as long as I remain close. Only as long as he believes I am still his servant. So you'll just keep doing his dirty work? Keep killing and torturing and oppressing? No. I will continue to undermine him from within. Quietly, carefully, until the moment comes when I can strike. Vader pauses. I am playing a longer game than you know, Ahsoka. And when it ends, Palpatine will fall. Ahsoka considers this. Every instinct tells her not to trust him, not to believe that anything good remains in the monster he has become. But she also remembers the man he was, the man who defied the Jedi Council to do what was right, the man who saved her life more times than she can count. The girl I came for, Kayla, she has potential. I know. If you hurt her, I have not touched her. I will not touch her. Take her and go, Ahsoka. Get as far from here as you can. She deactivates her lightsabers, a gesture of trust that surprises both of them. I should kill you. After everything you've done, I should end this here and now. Perhaps, but you won't. No, I won't. She turns toward the detention level, then pauses. There's still good in you, Anakin. Buried deep, twisted almost beyond recognition, but still there. I felt it, even without sensing you through the Force. Just now, in this moment, I felt it. Then you felt more than I deserve. Maybe, but it gives me hope. She begins walking away, then stops one more time. When you make your move against Palpatine, I want to know. The rebellion can help. When the time comes, you'll know. She disappears into the shadows, and Vader stands alone in the corridor. The mechanical breathing continues its rhythm, unchanged, but something has shifted. Another crack in the walls he has built around himself. Another connection to a past he cannot escape. He should report this encounter. Should send troops after Ahsoka. Should alert the Inquisitors. Should do everything in his power to eliminate this threat to Imperial security. That is what Palpatine would expect. What the role of Darth Vader demands. Instead, he returns to his quarters and does nothing. The prisoners escape. Ahsoka vanishes with her young charge. And the Empire never knows that its most feared enforcer let them go. It is the first time Vader has deliberately allowed enemies to escape. But it will not be the last. 6 months after the encounter with Ahsoka, Vader receives orders that send him to a world he swore never to return to. Tatooine, the desert planet of his birth, where his mother died in his arms, where he massacred a tribe of Tusken raiders in a fury that was his first true step toward the dark side. He has avoided this place for 2 decades, unable to face the memories that haunt its endless sands. Now Palpatine sends him there to investigate rumors of a surviving Jedi. Intelligence suggests that Obi-Wan Kenobi himself may be hiding on this backwater world, and the Emperor wants his former enemy eliminated once and for all. Vader accepts the mission without comment. He cannot refuse without raising suspicions. But as his shuttle descends through Tatooine's atmosphere, he feels something he has not experienced in years. Fear, not of Obi-Wan. His former master is old now, diminished, likely no match for Vader, even without the Force. No, the fear is something more personal. He is afraid of what this place will make him remember, afraid of the ghosts that wait for him in the desert. His shuttle lands near Mos Eisley, and he immediately begins his search. The intelligence is vague, pointing toward the Jundland wastes, but offering no specific location. Vader dismisses the stormtroopers who accompanied him, ordering them to remain with the ship while he investigates alone. He does not want witnesses for what comes next. The desert is exactly as he remembers. Endless dunes stretching to every horizon, broken only by rock formations and the occasional moisture farm. The twin suns beat down mercilessly, and even through his suit's environmental controls, Vader can feel the heat. He walks for hours, searching not through the Force, which is beyond him, but through simple deduction. Obi-Wan would need water, shelter, proximity to civilization, but not too close. There are only so many places that fit those requirements. He finds the small hut just as the suns begin to set. It sits alone in the shadow of a rocky outcropping, crude but functional. Smoke rises from a small chimney. Someone is home. Vader approaches slowly, making no attempt at stealth. If Obi-Wan is inside, he has surely sensed Vader's presence by now. Except, of course, that he hasn't, because Vader has no presence to sense. The door opens, and Obi-Wan Kenobi steps out. He looks old. The years have not been kind, weathering his face and whitening his hair. But he stands straight, his hand resting on the lightsaber at his belt, his eyes clear and alert. "I felt a disturbance in the Force," Obi-Wan says, "a void approaching, an absence where something should be." "Hello, Obi-Wan." "Vader." The name is spoken like a curse. "I wondered when you would find me. The Emperor sent me. He believes you are a threat that must be eliminated." "And what do you believe?" Vader is silent for a long moment, considering the question. What does he believe? He has had 2 decades to think about his former master, 2 decades to nurture his hatred for the man who left him burning on Mustafar. But without the dark side to fuel that hatred, what remains? "I believe," Vader finally says, "that we have unfinished business." "Yes, we do." Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber, the blue blade humming in the desert air. Vader responds in kind, red light casting long shadows across the sand. They circle each other slowly, 2 old enemies meeting for what may be the final time. Obi-Wan reaches out through the Force, trying to sense Vader's intentions, his emotions, his plans. He finds nothing. "Windu's work," Obi-Wan says softly. "I heard rumors, but I didn't believe them. It's true. I cannot touch the Force, cannot sense you, cannot anticipate your movements, cannot channel power of any kind. Then this should be easy." Obi-Wan attacks. His style is defensive, as always, focused on counterattacks and patient waiting. But there is no patience in this assault. He moves with a fury that belies his age, his blade a blur of blue light as he drives at Vader with everything he has. Years of grief and guilt fuel his strikes. Years of wondering if he could have saved Anakin, if there was something he should have done differently. Years of watching the galaxy burn under Imperial rule and knowing that his failure contributed to the devastation. Vader defends desperately. Without the Force to guide him, he cannot match Obi-Wan's speed, cannot anticipate the angles of attack that his former master knows intimately. He gives ground steadily, his lightsaber barely intercepting strikes that would have ended him. But Obi-Wan is old, and Vader has spent years training for exactly this kind of fight. The initial fury fades, and Vader begins to find openings. He counters with brutal efficiency, not trying to match Obi-Wan's elegance, but simply to survive and strike when possible. His blade grazes Obi-Wan's shoulder, drawing a hiss of pain. A kick sends the older man stumbling back. "You've improved," Obi-Wan admits, regaining his footing. "I expected this to be easier. I have had good motivation." They clash again, blades meeting in a spray of sparks. This time the exchange is more even, experience and skill battling against age and diminished reflexes. They spin and strike, advance and retreat, performing a dance they both know intimately. "Why are you really here, Vader?" Obi-Wan asks between exchanges. "If you wanted me dead, you could have brought an army." "I wanted to understand." "Understand what?" "Why you left me. On Mustafar, burning, dying. You could have ended it, but you walked away." Obi-Wan's strikes slow, his expression shifting from rage to something more complicated. "I couldn't kill you. Even after everything, you were still my brother. So instead you left me to suffer, to be taken by Palpatine, to be sealed in this suit for eternity. I thought you would die. I hoped you would find peace. There is no peace. Not for me." They disengage, standing several meters apart, lightsabers still ignited. The suns have fully set now, and the desert is dark, except for the glow of their weapons. "I've thought about that moment every day for 20 years, Obi-Wan says, wondering if I should have killed you, wondering if that would have been mercy. It would have been, but you're still alive, and something of Anakin might still exist inside you." Vader laughs, and the sound is harsh through his vocabulator. "Anakin is dead. Windu killed him more thoroughly than you ever could." "Did he? Because the Vader I've heard about, the monster who serves the Empire, would have brought stormtroopers, would have burned this hut to the ground with me inside, would have shown no hesitation, no weakness, no doubt." "What's your point?" "My point is that you came alone. You're talking to me instead of fighting. You had multiple chances to strike killing blows and didn't take them." Obi-Wan deactivates his lightsaber, lowering his hands to his sides. "Something has changed in you, Anakin." "Don't call me that. It's your name, the name your mother gave you, the name of the best pilot in the Jedi Order, the hero of 1,000 battles, the man I was proud to call my brother. That man is dead. Then kill me and prove it." Vader raises his lightsaber, the red blade pointed at Obi-Wan's heart. One strike would end this, would eliminate the last connection to his former life, the final witness to who he used to be. The Emperor would be pleased. The mission would be complete. He doesn't move. "I can't sense your feelings," Obi-Wan says softly. "I can't reach you through the Force, but I can see you, standing there, and I know you better than anyone alive. You don't want to do this. What I want doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. That's what Palpatine never understood about you. Your power was never just in the Force. It was in your passion, your love, your willingness to sacrifice everything for what you believed in. Those things can't be severed by any technique. Vader's arm trembles. The lightsaber wavers. You loved Padme, Obi-Wan continues. Loved her so much that you tore the galaxy apart trying to save her. That love was corrupted, twisted into something dark, but it was still love. It still mattered. She's dead because of me. Yes, but her children live. Vader's lightsaber deactivates. The desert falls into darkness, lit only by starlight. You know. Of course I know. I was there when they were born. I helped hide them, protected them, watched over them from a distance. Luke is on this very planet, growing up on a moisture farm not 50 kilometers from where we stand. Luke. The name is a whisper, barely audible. He looks like you. Has your gift for piloting, your reckless courage. He's going to be strong in the Force when the time comes to train him. You're raising him to fight the Empire. I'm raising him to bring balance to the Force, the same destiny that was supposed to be yours. Vader stands in the darkness, surrounded by revelations that shake him to his core. His son is alive. Is here, on Tatooine, close enough to visit, close enough to see. I need to go, he finally says. If I don't return soon, the Emperor will suspect something. What will you report? That I found no evidence of Jedi activity, that the intelligence was faulty. You're protecting me. Why? I don't know. Vader turns away, beginning the long walk back to his shuttle. But I know that I'm tired of destroying things, tired of being the weapon that cuts down everything good in the galaxy. That sounds like Anakin talking. Vader pauses but doesn't look back. Maybe some part of him survived after all. He walks into the darkness, leaving Obi-Wan alone with the stars. The old Jedi watches him go, and for the first time in 2 decades, allows himself to feel hope. Before the encounter with Tarkin that would nearly expose his treachery, Vader makes another journey, a pilgrimage to a place he has avoided since the day he became what he is. Naboo. He arrives in disguise, having falsified his flight records to show a routine patrol of the Mid-Rim. The Star Destroyer that normally accompanies him remains behind, its crew told that Lord Vader requires solitude for meditation. None of them question the order. Lord Vader's habits are strange and terrifying, and questioning them leads nowhere good. He lands his shuttle in a secluded valley, far from the capital city of Theed, and makes his way on foot through the rolling hills. The planet is beautiful, almost painfully so. Green meadows dotted with wildflowers, crystal clear streams that sparkle in the sunlight, ancient trees that have stood for thousands of years. It looks exactly as Padme described it to him, in those precious moments they shared between battles. She loved this world with her whole heart, talked about it constantly, painted pictures with her words that made Anakin long to see it for himself. He never came while she was alive, too busy with the war, too caught up in the machinations of the Jedi and the Republic. Always another mission, another battle, another reason to delay. Now he walks through the paradise she described, and she is not here to share it with him. The tomb stands on a hillside, overlooking Theed. It is more elaborate than he expected, a testament to how beloved Padme was by her people. White stone columns support a domed roof, and the walls are covered with carvings depicting scenes from her life. Her coronation as queen, her address to the Galactic Senate, her humanitarian missions to worlds in crisis. No carvings show her wedding, no images of her children. Those secrets were kept, even in death. Vader stands before the entrance for a long time, unable to take the final steps. Part of him wants to turn back, to flee this place and its memories, to bury his grief under the endless work of serving the Empire. But another part, the part that Obi-Wan suggested might still be Anakin, needs to see this through. He enters the tomb. Inside, the air is cool and still. A single shaft of light falls through an opening in the dome, illuminating the stone sarcophagus at the center of the chamber. More carvings decorate the walls, but these are different, more personal. Images of family gatherings, childhood memories, quiet moments of joy. And in one corner, almost hidden in the shadows, a carving of a young man with curly hair and an easy smile. No name accompanies the image, but Vader recognizes himself. Anakin Skywalker, as he once was, preserved in stone by people who knew how much Padme loved him. He moves to the sarcophagus and places his hand on the cold stone. In another life, he could reach through the Force and feel some echo of her presence, some trace of the woman who meant everything to him, lingering in this sacred space. But he has no Force to reach with, no connection to anything beyond the physical world. He feels only stone. "I'm sorry," he says, and his voice echoes in the empty chamber. "I'm sorry for everything I did, everything I became. You tried to save me, and I threw it all away." The silence that follows is absolute. No response comes, no sign that his words have been heard. Why would there be? He is speaking to a corpse, to memories, to the ghost of a love he destroyed with his own hands. "I killed children." The words come harder now, forced out through the tightness in his throat. "Younglings who trusted me, who called me master. I cut them down like they were nothing. I don't even know why anymore. The dark side told me it was necessary, and I believed it. I wanted to believe it." He falls to his knees, his mechanical legs crashing against the stone floor. The impact would have shattered organic bones, but he feels nothing except the weight of his grief. "I loved you more than anything in the galaxy, more than the Jedi, more than my own life. And in trying to save you, I destroyed you, destroyed myself, destroyed everything we might have built together." His hand, still resting on the sarcophagus, curls into a fist. "But I'm still here, still alive, somehow, after everything. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that means something. Maybe I can still do some good, even now. Maybe I can make things better, just a little, before the end." He stays in the tomb for hours, kneeling before Padme's resting place, speaking to her in words he could never have said while she lived. He tells her about Luke and Leia, the children she never got to raise, who have grown into people she would be proud of. He tells her about his plans to undermine the Empire, to destroy Palpatine, to try to atone for some fraction of what he's done. He tells her that he loves her still, that he will love her until the day he dies, and beyond, into whatever waits on the other side. When he finally leaves, the sun has set, and stars fill the Naboo sky. He walks back to his shuttle slowly, carrying the weight of his grief and the strange lightness that comes from finally speaking truth. He does not know if Padme heard him, does not know if anything of her survives beyond the stone and the memories. But for the first time in 20 years, he feels something like peace. It will not last. He knows that. The work ahead is dangerous, the odds of success minimal, the likelihood of his own death nearly certain. But in this moment, walking through the meadows his wife once described with such love, he is almost content. Anakin Skywalker, monster and mourner, continues toward his destiny. There is another test that Vader must face, another confrontation with the reality of what Windu took from him. In the depths of a secure Imperial facility, behind layers of guards and security systems and bureaucratic clearances, the Empire maintains a collection of Jedi artifacts. Holocrons, lightsabers, texts, relics gathered from the temple and other sites across the galaxy. Most of these items are studied by Imperial researchers, seeking ways to use Jedi knowledge against any survivors. But some items are kept separate, locked away, deemed too dangerous for even supervised study. Vader has authorization to access this restricted section. He does so occasionally, searching through the artifacts for anything that might help him restore his connection to the Force. He has never found anything useful, but the search gives him something to focus on during his darkest moments. Today, he is looking for a specific holocron. According to recovered temple records, it contains teachings from an ancient Jedi healer who specialized in Force-related injuries. If anyone in history understood how to repair damage to a being's connection to the Force, it would be this healer. The holocron sits on a pedestal in the center of a sealed chamber. It is pyramidal, about the size of a man's fist, its surface covered with intricate geometric patterns. In another life, Vader would be able to sense the energy contained within, would feel the teachings calling out to be learned. Now he sees only an inert object, beautiful, ancient, meaningless. He picks up the holocron and holds it in his hands. To access its contents, he must reach out with the Force, must establish a connection with the teaching matrix stored within. He has watched others do this, has seen the holocron spring to life, projecting images and information into the air. He closes his eyes and tries. Nothing happens. He tries harder, straining with everything he has, reaching for something that isn't there. Sweat beads on his forehead beneath the mask. His hands tremble with effort. The holocron remains dead, a piece of ancient technology that no longer recognizes him as worthy of its secrets. Vader hurls it against the wall. The holocron cracks, but does not shatter. Its geometric patterns distort, its ancient wisdom permanently scrambled by the impact. Thousands of years of healing knowledge destroyed in a moment of frustrated rage. He stands amid the ruins of his attempt, breathing heavily, his mechanical lungs working overtime to keep up with his emotional state. This is not the first time he has tried to access a holocron. It is not the first time he has failed. But each failure reinforces the same brutal truth. He is alone, cut off from the wisdom of the past, from the guidance of those who came before, from the very energy that defines what it means to be a Force user. Windu did not simply strip away his power. He condemned him to eternal isolation. For a long moment, Vader considers giving up, just stopping, letting Palpatine discover his treachery and end his miserable existence. It would be easier than this, easier than fighting every day against an empire he helped create, easier than trying to be something other than the monster he became. But then he thinks of Luke, of Leia, of the children he never knew he had, out there somewhere, fighting for a better galaxy. They are his holocrons now, his connection to the future, even if he has no connection to the past. They carry his blood, his legacy, his hope. As long as they live, something of Anakin Skywalker survives. He straightens his posture, collects himself, and leaves the artifact chamber. The broken holocron he leaves behind, its shattered form a monument to his limitations. But his resolve remains intact. Stronger, perhaps, for having been tested. He will find another way. He always does. Grand Moff Tarkin notices the change. The skeletal Imperial officer has worked alongside Vader for years now, their partnership forged in the blood of countless rebellions. Tarkin has always respected Vader's efficiency, his willingness to do whatever necessary to maintain order. But lately, there have been discrepancies. The rebel cell on Lothal, Tarkin says during one of their private meetings. Your report indicated they were eliminated, but our intelligence suggests several members escaped. The primary leadership was neutralized, Vader replies. The survivors pose minimal threat. That is not for you to decide. The Emperor's orders were clear. Total elimination. The Emperor's orders were to secure Lothal. That has been accomplished. Tarkin studies him with cold eyes. The Grand Moff has always suspected there was something different about Vader, some secret that explained his unusual nature. He has never been able to confirm his suspicions, but moments like this reinforce them. You are not what you appear to be, Lord Vader. Few things in this galaxy are. No, I mean specifically. The other Force users, the Inquisitors, they sense nothing from you. You move through the galaxy like a ghost, invisible to abilities that should easily detect you. And lately, you have shown a troubling tendency toward mercy. Mercy is inefficient. I eliminate threats efficiently. And yet threats keep surviving your efficient eliminations. Tarkin leans forward. If I didn't know better, I would say you were deliberately allowing enemies of the Empire to escape. The accusation hangs in the air between them. Vader knows that Tarkin is fishing, trying to provoke a reaction that will confirm his suspicions. He gives nothing away. You are welcome to present your concerns to the Emperor. I'm certain he will give them the consideration they deserve. Tarkin's jaw tightens. They both know that going to Palpatine with vague suspicions about his enforcer would be dangerous. The Emperor does not appreciate having his judgment questioned. This conversation is not over, Lord Vader. I look forward to continuing it at your convenience. Vader turns and leaves, his mechanical breathing unchanged, his posture revealing nothing of the tension coiled within him. Tarkin is getting too close. If the Grand Moff continues his investigation, he may uncover evidence of Vader's quiet sabotage. Something will have to be done about that. But as Vader walks the corridors of the Imperial facility, he finds himself considering a different possibility. What if, instead of eliminating Tarkin, he simply accelerated his own plans? The rebellion is growing stronger every day. Soon they will pose a genuine threat to the Empire. And when that happens, there will be opportunities. Opportunities for someone with inside knowledge to make a significant difference. The thought is still dangerous, still potentially suicidal. But for the first time in years, Vader feels something other than despair when he considers his future. He feels hope. 15 years after Mustafar, Vader receives intelligence that changes everything. The report is routine, one of dozens that cross his desk every day. Rebel activity in the Outer Rim, a pilot who destroyed an Imperial supply depot, a young man with exceptional skills. But one detail catches Vader's attention and refuses to let go. The pilot's name is Luke Skywalker. He reads it again, certain he must be mistaken. Skywalker. His name, his mother's name. From Tatooine, according to the file. The world he swore never to return to. The world where he left his mother to die. It could be a coincidence. The name is not unique to his family. There could be any number of Skywalkers in the galaxy, and this one's presence on Tatooine might be nothing more than chance. But something stirs in Vader's chest. Something that has nothing to do with the Force he can no longer feel. A human instinct buried deep beneath years of mechanical existence and emotional suppression, a father's intuition. He begins investigating quietly, pulling records and analyzing data without alerting anyone to his interest. The trail leads back 19 years to the final days of the Republic. Medical records from Polis Massa, carefully hidden but not completely erased. Padme Amidala's final moments, and the birth of twins. Twins. Vader stares at the screen for a very long time. The information seems impossible, a cruel trick designed to torment him. Palpatine told him the child died with Padme, told him that his violence had destroyed everything he loved. Palpatine lied. Of course Palpatine lied. The man is a Sith Lord, a master of deception, who has manipulated entire governments for decades. Why would he tell the truth about something that could give Vader hope? Better to keep him broken, despairing, useful. But the truth is here now, displayed in cold medical terminology on a screen in Vader's private quarters. Padme gave birth to twins before she died. A boy and a girl, both healthy, both taken to safety by persons unknown. He has children. He has a son, fighting for the rebellion, and a daughter, somewhere else in the galaxy, alive and grown and completely unaware of her heritage. Vader sits back in his chair, and something breaks inside him. Not painfully, like the severing of his Force connection, but softly, like ice melting in spring. The wall he has built around his emotions, the barrier that kept him functioning through years of hollow existence, begins to crumble. He is a father. Despite everything, despite Mustafar and the suit and the countless crimes he has committed, he has children who carry his blood, his legacy, his hope. For the first time since Windu stood over him on the burning sands, Vader feels something like joy. But the joy is quickly tempered by reality. His children do not know him. To them, Darth Vader is a monster, the Emperor's enforcer, the man responsible for countless deaths and the oppression of the entire galaxy. If they ever learned the truth, their reaction would be horror, not happiness. And Palpatine. If the Emperor learns that Vader knows about the children, he will use them as leverage, threaten them, hunt them, twist them into weapons against their own father. The safest thing Vader could do, for everyone involved, is pretend he never learned the truth and let his children live their lives in ignorance. But Vader has never been good at staying away from what he loves. He begins gathering information about Luke Skywalker, not through official channels, which would leave records, but through carefully cultivated contacts and personal investigation. The boy is a natural pilot, just like his father. He has a reckless courage that reminds Vader painfully of his own youth. And according to the intelligence reports, he is strong in the Force. Strong in a way that Vader can no longer perceive or understand. The irony is bitter. His son has inherited his power, perhaps even exceeded it, and Vader will never be able to sense that strength. They could stand face to face, and Vader would feel nothing, perceive nothing, connect to nothing. The bond between Force-sensitive parent and child, which should resonate through the universe itself, has been severed at one end. He finds information about the daughter as well, though it takes longer. Leia Organa, adopted princess of Alderaan, outspoken critic of the Empire, secretly a leader in the Rebel Alliance. She has her mother's passion for justice and her father's stubbornness. Vader watches recordings of her speeches and sees Padme looking back at him, fierce and unafraid. He has missed everything. Their first steps, their first words, their struggles and triumphs and dreams. He has been a monster in their galaxy while they grew up without him, shaping themselves into people he can only observe from a distance. The loss is staggering. Another thing to add to the endless list of things he can never get back. But there is still time. Time to do something right, for once. Time to make choices that serve his children, instead of the Emperor who destroyed their family. Vader begins to plan. But before the planning can become action, there are moments of weakness. Times when the weight of what he has learned threatens to crush him entirely. He watches a holographic recording of Leia addressing the Imperial Senate, speaking out against the military buildup in the Outer Rim. She is passionate, articulate, fearless in the face of senators who would silence her. Vader watches her gesture with hands that move exactly like Padme's, watches her pace with footsteps that echo his own restless energy. His daughter, fighting the empire he serves, risking her life every day to oppose everything he represents. He should turn her in, should report her rebel sympathies to Imperial intelligence, should watch as she is arrested and interrogated and executed as a traitor. That is what Palpatine would expect, what the role of Darth Vader demands. Instead, he watches the recording again and again, memorizing every detail of her face, her voice, her spirit, storing these memories in a heart he thought had died on Mustafar. He obtains other recordings. Leia as a child, speaking at a remembrance ceremony for Alderaan's fallen heroes. Leia as a teenager, winning a debate tournament at the Royal Academy. Leia as a young woman, comforting refugees from Imperial aggression. Each recording shows him more of who she has become, the person she shaped herself into without any guidance from her biological parents. She is remarkable, strong, compassionate, brave beyond reason. Everything he might have hoped for in a daughter, if he had ever allowed himself to hope. And she hates him, hates everything he stands for, would probably kill him herself if she had the chance, and she would be right to do so. The knowledge is a blade in his chest, twisting with every beat of his mechanical heart. He has a daughter who is extraordinary, and he will never be able to tell her, never be able to express his pride, his love, his desperate wish that things had been different. She will go to her grave, believing that Darth Vader is merely a monster, never knowing that the monster wanted nothing more than to be her father. He watches Luke as well, though those recordings are harder to obtain. The boy has been more careful, his activities better hidden from Imperial surveillance. But Vader is patient, and he has resources that few in the galaxy can match. He finds footage of Luke racing through Beggar's Canyon on Tatooine, piloting a T-16 Skyhopper with reckless skill. The boy flies exactly like Anakin did at that age, taking risks that should kill him, surviving through a combination of natural talent and sheer stubborn refusal to accept failure. Vader watches the recording and feels something he cannot name. Pride, perhaps, or grief for all the years he was not there to teach his son to fly, to share in his victories, to catch him when he fell. He finds recordings of Luke working on his uncle's moisture farm, wrestling with temperamental vaporators and arguing with malfunctioning droids. The frustration on the boy's face is achingly familiar. Anakin felt that same frustration on Tatooine, trapped on a desert world while the galaxy spread out above him, just out of reach. Luke wants more. Vader can see it in every recording, every interview, every captured communication. The boy dreams of adventure, of purpose, of a life that matters. He is desperate to escape the mundane existence that circumstances have forced upon him. Anakin wanted the same things, once. Before the Jedi found him, before the war claimed him, before everything went wrong. He watches his children grow through stolen moments, fragments of lives he was never meant to see. And slowly, the plan takes shape in his mind. A way to reach them. A way to help them, even if they never know his involvement. A way to be their father, in the only way he has left. The sabotage increases. More intelligence flows to the rebellion. More Imperial operations mysteriously fail. More resources find their way into rebel hands. Vader works carefully, covering his tracks, ensuring that nothing can be traced back to him. But the impact is undeniable. The rebellion grows stronger. Stronger than it should be. Stronger than anyone expected. And at the heart of that growing strength, two young people rise to prominence. Luke Skywalker, pilot and warrior. Leia Organa, diplomat and leader. The children of Darth Vader, fighting to destroy everything their father helped create. There is a painful symmetry to it. Anakin became Vader to save his family, and in doing so destroyed them. Now, Vader works to undermine the empire his children oppose, trying to protect them from the consequences of his own crimes. He does not expect forgiveness, does not expect redemption. All he expects is the chance to do something right, for once, before the end comes. That is enough. It has to be enough. The confrontation with Luke comes sooner than expected. A year after discovering the truth, Vader leads an assault on a rebel base hidden in the mountains of Simoon 1. The operation is meant to be simple, a straightforward strike against a known enemy position. But the rebels have been warned, their evacuation already underway, when Imperial forces arrive. Vader pursues them personally, leading a squad of stormtroopers through the facility's corridors. He is hunting for rebel leadership, hoping to capture or eliminate key figures. What he finds instead stops him in his tracks. Luke Skywalker stands in the main hangar, a blue lightsaber ignited in his hands. Vader recognizes the weapon immediately. It is his own lightsaber, the one he built as a young Jedi, the one he lost on Mustafar when Obi-Wan defeated him. Somehow it has found its way to his son. Father and son face each other across the hangar, and time seems to stop. Luke sees only an enemy, the Dark Lord who serves the Emperor, who has hunted his friends, who destroyed everything the rebellion fought for on countless worlds. He raises the lightsaber, ready to fight, unaware that the monster before him shares his blood. Vader sees his son. The boy looks like Padme, with the same determination in his eyes, the same stubborn set to his jaw. But there is something of Anakin there too, the reckless courage, the refusal to back down against impossible odds. He should attack. His mission is to eliminate rebel threats, and Luke Skywalker has become one of the most dangerous members of the Alliance. A quick strike, a red blade, and the threat would end. Vader cannot do it. He cannot kill his son. Even after everything, even knowing that letting Luke live puts his own position at risk, he cannot bring himself to extinguish that light. "Darth Vader," Luke says, his voice steady despite the fear that must be coursing through him. "I've been waiting for this." Vader ignites his own weapon, the red blade humming in the confined space. Around them, rebels and stormtroopers continue fighting, but the two of them occupy their own bubble of stillness. "You wield that blade without understanding its history," Vader says, and his vocabulator cannot convey the emotion underneath the words. "I know exactly whose lightsaber this was. It belonged to my father, the man you murdered." The accusation strikes Vader like a physical blow. He murdered many men, many women, many children, but he did not murder Anakin Skywalker. He is Anakin Skywalker, or what remains of him. "Your father made many mistakes," Vader says slowly, "and you made sure he paid for them." They clash. Lightsabers meet in a spray of sparks, and Vader is immediately struck by something unexpected. Luke is untrained, powerful in the Force, clearly, raw energy radiating from him in ways that Vader can no longer perceive, but can see in the effects. Objects tremble nearby when Luke's emotions spike. The air itself seems charged with potential, but he is wild, uncontrolled. His forms are sloppy, his movements inefficient. In another life, Vader would have sensed all of this through the Force, would have anticipated and countered every attack with supernatural precision. Here, he fights blind. He reads Luke's body language, anticipates based on stance and momentum, relies on decades of combat experience rather than Force precognition. It is a strange equalizer. Luke's raw power means nothing against Vader's inability to perceive it. They are, in an odd way, evenly matched, both fighting without the advantages they should have. Luke because he lacks training, Vader because he lacks the Force entirely. "You're strong," Vader admits as their blades lock, "but strength without discipline is meaningless." "I have all the discipline I need." Luke pushes back, breaking the lock, and swings for Vader's head. Vader ducks, counters, and presses his attack. But he is holding back, and he knows it. He could end this fight. Luke is good but not good enough, and Vader's experience would win eventually. But he doesn't want to kill this boy. Doesn't want to add his own son to the list of innocents he has slaughtered. "Run," Vader says, surprising himself. "Take your friends and leave. This fight serves neither of us." Luke's eyes narrow with suspicion. "Why would you let us go?" "Because you're my son," Vader thinks. "Because I've taken enough from this galaxy. Because looking at you is like looking at everything I destroyed. Because killing you would be a waste," he says instead. "You have potential. Potential that is being squandered by these rebels and their hopeless cause. Walk away, train properly, become what you're meant to be." "I'll never join the Empire." "I wasn't asking you to join the Empire." The words hang in the air between them, carrying meaning that Luke doesn't understand. But before either can say more, an explosion rocks the hangar. The ceiling begins to collapse, and in the chaos, Luke grabs a wounded friend and runs. Vader lets him go. He stands amid the destruction, his lightsaber still ignited, and watches his son escape. The stormtroopers look at him for orders, and he waves them back. The objective is lost. Fall back to the transports. "Lord Vader, fall back. That is an order." He doesn't explain his decision. He doesn't have to. He is Darth Vader, and his commands are not questioned. But later, alone in his chamber aboard the Star Destroyer, Vader removes his helmet and stares at his reflection in the darkened viewport. The scarred, ruined face that looks back at him is a map of his failures. Every burn, every mark, a testament to the moment he lost everything. He thinks about Luke, about Padme, about the life he might have had if he had made different choices on that terrible night. And for the first time since Mustafar, he wonders if redemption might still be possible. Not through the Force, not through the dark side or the light, but through simple human choice, the decision to be something other than a monster. Over the following years, Vader walks a dangerous path. On the surface, he remains the Emperor's enforcer. He leads missions against the rebellion, hunts fugitives and dissidents, maintains the terror that keeps the galaxy in line. His efficiency never wavers, his loyalty never publicly questioned. But beneath the surface, he works against everything he appears to serve. It begins with small acts. intelligence reports that accidentally contain outdated information, allowing rebel cells to escape before strikes arrive. Supply chains disrupted in ways that benefit Alliance operations. Key Imperial officers transferred away from effective positions, their replacements subtly chosen for incompetence. The sabotage is never obvious, never traceable to Vader himself. He has learned from decades of Imperial politics, from watching Palpatine manipulate entire systems without leaving fingerprints. If the Emperor's own apprentice can be deceived by such machinations, then so can lesser officials. He also makes contact with the rebellion. Not directly, never directly, but through a series of carefully anonymized channels. Information flows from the Empire's heart to its enemies, always plausible in origin, always impossible to trace back to its true source. The rebellion grows stronger, Imperial defeats mount, and through it all, Vader watches and waits. He has a plan. It has been forming for years, refined through countless iterations, adjusted as circumstances change. The end goal is simple: destroy Palpatine and end the Empire's reign of terror. The method is far more complex. Vader cannot defeat the Emperor alone. Without the Force, he is no match for Palpatine's power. Any direct confrontation would end with his death, and probably the deaths of countless others, as the Emperor unleashed his full wrath. But the Emperor has weaknesses, his arrogance primarily. Palpatine believes absolutely in his own invincibility, in the accuracy of his Force visions, in the impossibility of anyone successfully opposing him. He does not perceive Vader as a threat, because Vader cannot be perceived at all. This invisibility, this void where Vader's Force presence should be, is the key to everything. Palpatine's visions cannot show him a threat they cannot detect. His precognition cannot warn him of attacks from a being who doesn't exist in the Force. For the first time in history, a man without power has an advantage over the most powerful Force user alive. But timing is everything. Vader needs the right moment, the right circumstances, the right confluence of factors to make his strike succeed. He needs Palpatine distracted, confident, completely unaware that betrayal approaches. He finds his moment in the construction of the second Death Star. The station is Palpatine's grand project, the symbol of Imperial might that will crush all remaining opposition. The Emperor personally oversees its final stages of construction, traveling to Endor to ensure everything proceeds according to his vision. Vader knows this is his opportunity, but he also knows he will need help. He needs Luke. The boy has grown in the years since their first confrontation. Trained by someone, though Vader doesn't know who, Luke has become a genuine threat to Imperial forces. His skills with a lightsaber have improved dramatically, and his connection to the Force has deepened in ways that Vader can only infer from the results. More importantly, Luke has shown something unexpected: compassion, even for his enemies, even for the monster who supposedly killed his father. They have faced each other twice since that first meeting. Each time, Luke has offered mercy instead of seeking vengeance. Each time, he has spoken of redemption, of the possibility that even Darth Vader might find a path back to the light. He doesn't understand, of course. He doesn't know who Vader really is, doesn't know that the light side is as far beyond Vader's reach as the dark. But his faith in redemption, his willingness to see good where none should exist, suggests that he might help, even if he knew the truth. It's time to tell him. Vader arranges their next meeting carefully. He allows himself to be captured by rebel forces, ensures that Luke is present, creates the circumstances for a private conversation. They stand in a holding cell on a rebel cruiser, father and son, separated by energy bars and years of lies. "You wanted to speak with me," Luke says. His lightsaber hangs at his belt, but he makes no move to draw it. "This is a trap, isn't it?" "Yes, but not the kind you imagine." Luke waits, his expression guarded. "You have felt it, haven't you?" Vader continues. "The absence. When you reach for me through the Force, you find nothing. I am invisible to your senses." "I've noticed. The other Jedi said it means you found some way to shield yourself." "They are wrong. I cannot shield myself because I have nothing to shield. The Force is beyond my reach, Luke. It has been since Mustafar." Luke's eyes widen slightly. This is information that contradicts everything he believes about Darth Vader, the powerful Sith Lord, the Emperor's right hand. "That's impossible. You're one of the most powerful Force users in the galaxy." "I was, before Mace Windu severed my connection. Now I am nothing but a man in a suit, sustained by machines, serving an emperor who keeps me alive only because my suffering amuses him." "Why are you telling me this?" Vader takes a breath, the mechanical sound filling the silence between them. He has rehearsed this moment countless times, but now that it's here, the words seem inadequate. "Because you deserve to know the truth, all of it, including the truth about your father. My father was a Jedi Knight. Obi-Wan told me you betrayed and murdered him. Obi-Wan told you what he believed you needed to hear, a simplified version. The truth is more complicated." Vader pauses, steadying himself. "Luke, I am your father." The words hang in the air. Luke's face cycles through confusion, denial, and something that might be horror. "No, that's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings. You know it to be true." "No!" Luke stumbles back, his hand going to his lightsaber, his entire body trembling with the force of his rejection. But he doesn't draw the weapon. He doesn't attack. He simply stands there, staring at the monster who claims to share his blood. "I was Anakin Skywalker," Vader continues, his voice steady, despite the turmoil beneath. "I was a Jedi, a hero of the Clone Wars, the man who loved your mother more than anything in the galaxy. And I threw it all away. I fell to the dark side, served Palpatine, killed children and innocents and everything I once protected. And then Windu found me on Mustafar and took everything I had left. If this is true, why tell me now? What do you want?" "I want to stop the Emperor. I have been working against him for years, undermining his plans, aiding the rebellion in secret. But I cannot defeat him alone. He is too powerful, and I have no power at all. So you want me to kill him for you? I want you to help me kill him. Together we might succeed where either of us alone would fail." Luke shakes his head, overwhelmed. "This is insane. You're Darth Vader. You've killed thousands of people. You destroyed Alderaan. Tarkin destroyed Alderaan. I was present, but the decision was, then why should we trust you? You shouldn't. Trust is earned through actions, and my actions have earned nothing but hatred." Vader pauses, choosing his next words carefully. "But I can tell you this. In the years since I learned of your existence, I have done everything in my power to help the rebellion. Intelligence leaked through anonymous channels, Imperial operations sabotaged, resources diverted. You have won battles because of information I provided." Leia's eyes narrow. "You expect me to believe that Darth Vader has been secretly helping the rebellion? Believe what you wish, but ask your intelligence analysts about the Scarif operation. about the timing of the fleet redeployment before Yavin, about the weaknesses in Imperial supply lines that your forces have exploited repeatedly over the past several years. Those were deliberate, all of them. I could not openly defect without Palpatine destroying everyone I tried to help, but I could work from within, undermining his plans, creating opportunities for the rebellion to exploit. Leia stares at him, visibly processing this information. The implications are staggering. If Vader is telling the truth, then the rebellion's survival, its growth, its very existence might be partially attributable to the Empire's most feared enforcer. Why? She finally asks. Why would you do that? Because I learned I had children. Because I realized that everything I had done, all the death and destruction, was building a galaxy where my son and daughter would live as slaves to Palpatine's will. I could not save myself, but perhaps I could help save you. Tears glisten in Leia's eyes, but she refuses to let them fall. You tortured me. On the Death Star, you stood there and watched while that probe invaded my mind. I did not know who you were then. You were simply another rebel, another enemy to be broken. Vader's voice drops. That is not an excuse. There is no excuse. But I want you to know that if I had known, I would never have allowed it. Would you have saved Alderaan? The question hangs in the air between them. Vader considers lying, considers telling her what she wants to hear. But she deserves the truth. I don't know. I would like to believe so. But I was deeply in Palpatine's grip then, deeply committed to the Empire's cause. I might have rationalized it, found a way to justify the destruction. I was capable of justifying almost anything in those days. At least you're honest. It is the only gift I have left to give you. The truth, however painful. You deserve that much. Leia takes a deep breath, steadying herself. Luke believes you. Believes that you've changed, that you genuinely want to help. He's always been too trusting. And you? I don't believe in redemption for monsters. I don't believe that good intentions can erase a lifetime of evil. I think you deserve to die, slowly and painfully, for everything you've done. You may well be right, but I also believe in destroying the Empire, in ending Palpatine's reign of terror. If working with you serves that goal, then I will work with you. She moves toward the door, then pauses. Don't mistake this for forgiveness, or acceptance, or anything other than what it is, a temporary alliance of convenience. I expect nothing more. Good, because you'll get nothing more. She leaves, and Vader is alone again. But something has shifted, something small, but significant. His daughter spoke to him, heard his truth, agreed to work with him, however reluctantly. It is not forgiveness, it is not love, but it is contact, it is connection. It is more than he deserves. For now, it is enough. Luke comes to him 2 days later. I've spoken with Leia, he says. She didn't take it well. I would not expect her to. She wants you dead. She says trusting you would be the height of foolishness. She is probably right. She also said that if there's any chance of stopping the Emperor, we have to take it, even if it means working with you. Vader feels something shift in his chest. Hope, fragile and unfamiliar. Then she is wise as well as fierce. The rebellion is planning an assault on Endor. We're going to try to destroy the Death Star before it becomes fully operational. It is already operational. Palpatine has kept this information secret, but the station's primary weapon has been functional for weeks. Your assault will be a disaster unless you account for this. Luke's face pales. We need to warn the fleet, Yes, but the warning alone will not be enough. Palpatine will have foreseen the attack. He has positioned the Imperial fleet to trap and destroy your forces the moment they arrive. Then how do we win? Vader explains his plan. The details are complex, involving coordinated strikes, misdirection, and ultimately a confrontation with the Emperor himself. Luke listens carefully, asking questions, pointing out flaws, suggesting alternatives. They work together through the night, father and son, monster and hero. The irony is not lost on either of them. But necessity makes strange allies, and the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. The planning sessions continue for days. Each meeting reveals new challenges, new complications, new reasons why the operation might fail. Vader provides intelligence about Imperial defenses, command structures, emergency protocols. Luke contributes rebel capabilities, tactical assets, personnel strengths. Together, they craft something that might actually work. The shield generator on Endor, Vader says, pointing to a holographic map of the forest moon. It must be destroyed before any attack on the Death Star can succeed. Palpatine believes this to be his strongest defense. He does not expect ground forces to reach it. Our commandos can handle ground operations. Han Solo has experience with this kind of infiltration. Solo. Vader's tone is carefully neutral. The smuggler, who owes debts to half the criminal syndicates in the galaxy. He's a good man, brave, resourceful, loyal to his friends. And involved with your sister, if intelligence reports are accurate. Luke hesitates. Does that bother you? I have no right to be bothered by anything regarding my children's choices. I forfeited that right when I fell to the dark side. A pause. But if he hurts her, I will kill him, powerless or not. I'll let him know. Please do. The planning continues. They analyze approaches, contingencies, fallback positions. They argue about timing, about force deployment, about the countless variables that could determine success or failure. And gradually, something unexpected emerges from their collaboration. Understanding. Luke begins to see the man beneath the mask. Not a monster, not entirely, but a broken human being struggling to find meaning in an existence that offers none. He sees the intelligence that made Anakin Skywalker a legendary general, the strategic mind that won impossible battles during the Clone Wars, the stubborn determination that refuses to accept defeat even when defeat seems certain. He also sees the pain, the guilt that haunts every word, every gesture, the weight of 20 years of atrocities pressing down on shoulders that can barely bear it. His father is not seeking redemption. He is seeking punishment that might, in some small way, begin to balance the scales. Vader, for his part, watches his son with a mixture of pride and grief. Luke has grown into everything Anakin might have been, if circumstances had been different. Kind where Anakin was cruel, patient where Anakin was impulsive, hopeful where Anakin was fearful. The boy is better than his father ever was, and that somehow makes all of this worthwhile. There's something I need to tell you, Luke says during one of their later sessions, about the confrontation with Palpatine. Yes? I can't kill him, not in cold blood, even after everything he's done. That may be a problem, I know, but the Jedi Code forbids execution of helpless prisoners, and my conscience forbids it, regardless of any code. Vader considers this. His son's moral clarity is admirable, if inconvenient. Then I will do what must be done. My conscience is already so burdened that one more death makes no difference. That's not what I want either. What do you want, Luke? I want him to face justice. Real justice, from a tribunal, from the people he's wronged. I want the galaxy to see what he is and condemn him openly. That is idealistic. Maybe. But it's also right. We're trying to build something better than the Empire. Something that doesn't rely on violence and fear. If our first act is assassination, what does that say about what comes next? Vader is silent for a long moment. 20 years ago, he might have dismissed such reasoning as naive, as weakness, as everything the Jedi represented that he came to despise. Now, hearing it from his son, he finds himself reconsidering. You may be right, he admits, but Palpatine will never allow himself to be captured. He will fight to the death, and he has the power to destroy everyone around him in the process. Then we make sure he's not in a position to fight. We neutralize him, contain him, find a way to block his powers. That is not possible, not with any technology I know of. But you don't know everything about your own condition, do you? Windu severed your connection to the Force. Maybe there's a way to do the same to Palpatine. Vader stares at his son. The idea is audacious, possibly insane. But there is a certain logic to it. If Windu could sever Anakin's connection, perhaps the same could be done to Palpatine. Perhaps there is a way to strip the Dark Lord of his power before executing judgment. I do not know the technique Windu used, Vader says slowly. It was performed on me, not by me. But there may be records, ancient texts in the Imperial archives that describe the process. Can you find them? Perhaps. But even if I do, I cannot use them. The technique requires force ability that I no longer possess. But I might be able to use them. If you can find the information, teach me what Windu did. Luke, the technique is dangerous, forbidden. There is no guarantee it would work on someone as powerful as Palpatine. Then we have a backup plan. If the technique fails, we fight. And if fighting fails, we do whatever it takes to stop him. Luke's eyes are steady. But we try the right way first. That's all I ask. Vader considers this. His son is asking him to participate in something that might be impossible, that risks everything on an uncertain outcome. The practical choice would be simple assassination, using his invisibility to strike before Palpatine can react. But Luke is asking for something more. Something that might, if it succeeds, offer a different kind of future. I will search the archives, Vader finally says. I cannot promise success, but I will try. That's all any of us can do. They return to planning, but something has changed. A new element has been added to their strategy, a chance, however slim, of achieving something beyond mere vengeance. Justice. True justice for the monster who destroyed the Republic and enslaved the galaxy. It is probably impossible, but for the first time in 20 years, Vader allows himself to hope. When dawn comes, they have a plan. The days before Endor pass quickly. Vader is released from rebel custody, a decision that sparks fierce debate among Alliance leadership. Many object to freeing the Empire's most notorious enforcer, regardless of his claims of reformation. But Luke advocates for him, and Leia, grudgingly, supports her brother's judgment. He is given a shuttle and allowed to return to Imperial space. The Alliance cannot afford to have their most valuable intelligence asset exposed, and Vader's continued presence within the Empire is crucial for the operation's success. He spends the journey to Endor in silent contemplation. This is the end, one way or another. Either Palpatine falls and the galaxy changes forever, or Vader dies in the attempt. There are no other options. No future where he continues as he has been, serving a master he despises, destroying everything he secretly loves. The shuttle arrives at the Death Star, and Vader resumes his role as the Emperor's loyal enforcer. He attends briefings, issues orders, maintains the facade of obedience that has protected him for years. But his mind is elsewhere, running through the plan again and again, searching for flaws, preparing for contingencies. He thinks about his children, about Luke, brave and foolish, walking into the Emperor's trap with nothing but hope and determination. About Leia, fierce and brilliant, leading the ground assault that will make everything else possible. They are both risking their lives on the strength of his word, trusting a monster to help them save the galaxy. He will not betray that trust. Whatever else happens, he will not fail them. The Battle of Endor begins as expected. The Rebel fleet arrives to find the Death Star operational, their attack seemingly anticipated. Imperial ships close in for the kill, trapping them between the planet's gravity well and overwhelming firepower. But the Rebels have adjusted their strategy based on Vader's intelligence. They know about the trap, know about the Death Star's capabilities, know where the Imperial fleet is weakest. The battle is still desperate, still costly, but not the massacre it might have been. Vader watches the battle unfold through the Death Star's command center viewports. He sees Rebel starfighters weaving through Imperial formations, exploiting weaknesses he identified weeks ago. He sees Alliance capital ships targeting command vessels, disrupting coordination in ways that Palpatine's foresight failed to anticipate. His information is making a difference. Perhaps not enough to win outright, but enough to give the rebellion a fighting chance. On the forest moon below, a strike team works to disable the shield generator protecting the Death Star. Leia leads them, her fury at Vader's revelations channeled into focused determination. She will not forgive him. She may never forgive him, but she will use every advantage he provides to destroy the empire that ruined her life. The ground operation faces its own challenges. Imperial forces defend the generator with everything they have, and for a time, it seems like the assault might fail. But Leia proves herself her father's daughter, finding solutions where none seem to exist, refusing to accept defeat even when defeat seems certain. She does not think about Vader as she fights, does not allow herself to consider the man behind the monster. There will be time for that later, if any of them survive. For now, there is only the mission, only the desperate struggle to bring down the shield and give the fleet its chance. Meanwhile, aboard the Death Star, Vader receives the signal he has been waiting for. Luke has arrived on a shuttle, as planned, and been taken into custody by Imperial forces. Everything is proceeding according to their design. He requests an audience with the Emperor, claiming to have captured a valuable prisoner. Palpatine agrees, eager to see the young Skywalker brought before him. He has great plans for this boy, plans that involve turning him to the dark side and establishing a new Sith dynasty. Those plans are about to be complicated. And aboard the Death Star itself, Vader brings Luke before the Emperor. The throne room is empty, except for the three of them. Palpatine sits on his elevated seat, looking down at his apprentice and the young Jedi with an expression of satisfaction. "Welcome, young Skywalker. I have been expecting you." Luke stands before him, hands bound, but his eyes show no fear. He has prepared for this moment, trained for it, accepted what it might cost. "You've been expecting everything, haven't you?" Luke says. "You planned all of this." "Of course. Your feeble rebellion is walking into a trap of my design. Soon your friends will be destroyed, and you will join me or share their fate." "I'll never turn to the dark side," Palpatine laughs. "So your father once believed. And look at him now, a broken thing, sustained by machines, and my mercy. The Skywalker blood carries great power, but it also carries great weakness. My father was seduced by lies. I know the truth. The truth? Palpatine leans forward, his yellow eyes gleaming. What truth do you imagine you know, young Skywalker? I know you're afraid. I know that's why you kept Vader powerless, because you feared what he might become. And I know that right now, in this moment, you can't sense him at all. Palpatine's smile falters. He reaches out through the Force, searching for Vader's presence, and finds the same void that has confused him for 2 decades. An interesting trick, Lord Vader, but ultimately meaningless. Your condition makes you no threat to me. Perhaps not, Vader says, but it makes me invisible to your visions. He moves. The hidden blaster built into his gauntlet fires before Palpatine can react. The bolt catches the Emperor in the shoulder, breaking his concentration, shattering his composure. No one has successfully attacked Palpatine in decades. His Force visions show him all potential threats, allow him to counter them before they begin, but they cannot show him Vader. The Dark Lord closes the distance, while Palpatine is still reeling. His mechanical hands reach for the Emperor's throat, not with Force power, but with simple, physical strength. Servo motors whine as fingers close around ancient flesh. Palpatine's eyes go wide with rage and disbelief. He unleashes a torrent of Force lightning, the energy coursing through Vader's suit, overwhelming his systems. Pain beyond description lances through what remains of Vader's organic body. He does not let go. Behind them, Luke moves. His lightsaber ignites, green light filling the throne room. He strikes at Palpatine from behind, forcing the Emperor to divide his attention between 2 threats. It is not enough. Even distracted, even surprised, Palpatine is the most powerful Sith Lord in history. His lightning intensifies, and Vader feels his life support beginning to fail. His vision darkens, his grip weakens, but he does not let go. The lightning continues to pour through him, frying circuits, melting connections, destroying the systems that have kept him alive for 2 decades. He can feel his heart stuttering, his lungs failing, his entire body shutting down piece by piece. It does not matter. Nothing matters except this moment, this choice, this chance to do something right after a lifetime of wrong. He thinks of Padme, of the love they shared, brief and beautiful and ultimately tragic. He thinks of the children they created, who grew up without him, who became heroes in spite of their heritage. He thinks of all the lives he destroyed, all the futures he erased, all the pain he caused in service to a lie. This is his last chance to make any of it mean something. His last chance to prove that somewhere, buried beneath the monster, Anakin Skywalker still exists. You forgot something, Vader growls, his vocabulary distorting as systems fail. Monsters can still bite. He squeezes with everything he has left. Metal fingers crush ancient bone. The lightning falters as Palpatine's concentration breaks. Luke sees his opening and takes it. His lightsaber sweeps down in a killing arc, and the Emperor's head separates from his body. Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith, architect of the Empire, destroyer of the Republic, falls, and Vader falls with him. He collapses to the floor, his suit sparking, his breathing ragged. The damage from Palpatine's lightning has overwhelmed his life support systems. He has minutes at best. Luke rushes to his side, dropping to his knees. Father, Father, hold on. It's too late. Vader's hand finds Luke's, mechanical fingers closing around warm flesh. Help me take off this mask. But you'll die. I am already dying. Have been for 20 years. Let me see my son with my own eyes." Luke hesitates, tears streaming down his face. He has spent his whole life imagining this moment, dreaming of the father he never knew. He never expected it would come like this, in the wreckage of a battle, with death closing in from every side. But he understands what his father is asking. After 20 years of hiding behind the mask, Anakin Skywalker wants to face his end as himself. It is a small thing, a final dignity, and Luke cannot deny him that. He reaches up and gently removes the helmet. Beneath it, Anakin Skywalker looks up at him. The face is scarred, ruined, barely human. Burns cover most of his skin, healed imperfectly over years of neglect. His eyes are sunken, his lips cracked, his scalp marked with the remnants of wounds that never fully closed. But the eyes are blue and clear, and they hold something that might be peace. "You look like your mother," Anakin whispers. His voice is different without the vocabulator, softer, more human. "She would be proud of you. Father, you saved us. You saved everyone. I destroyed enough. One good act cannot balance the scales." "Maybe not, but it's a start." Anakin almost smiles. The expression looks strange on his ravaged face, but there is genuine warmth behind it, genuine love. "Tell your sister. Tell her I'm sorry for everything. Tell her I loved her, even though I never knew her." "I will. I promise." "And Luke, you must rebuild the Jedi." But not as they were. Their arrogance, their rigidity, their fear of emotion. It led them to reject me, and that rejection drove me into Palpatine's arms. Do better than they did. Be better than I was. I'll try. There is no try. The words echo from a lifetime ago, spoken by a small green master to a frustrated young student. There is only do. His eyes begin to close. "Father," Luke says, his voice breaking, "what happens now? Without the Force, where do you go?" "I don't know." Anakin's voice is barely audible. "But wherever it is, I hope your mother is there. I have so much to apologize for." The last breath leaves his body, and Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, who chose wrongly and then chose again, finally finds peace. Luke holds his father's body as the Death Star shakes around them. Somewhere in space, the rebel fleet is winning the battle that will decide the fate of the galaxy. On the forest moon, Leia has succeeded in destroying the shield generator. The Empire is falling. But in this moment, there is only a son mourning a father, a Skywalker grieving for another. He carries the body to a shuttle and escapes the dying station. He watches through the viewport as the Death Star explodes, taking with it the last remnants of the Emperor's power. The war is not over, not completely, but the decisive blow has been struck. The galaxy will be free. The funeral pyre burns on the forest moon of Endor, and Luke watches his father's body return to ash. Around him, rebels and Ewoks celebrate their victory, fireworks lighting up the night sky. Leia stands beside him, her feelings complicated, her grief mingled with anger at the man who took so much from her. But she is here. She came to say goodbye, because whatever else Vader was, he was also her father. And in the end, he helped save everything she fought for. "I don't know how to feel," she admits. "He tortured me, watched while Tarkin destroyed my home. And then he helped us win. I know. Does one good act erase a lifetime of evil? No, but it's still a good act, and it's the act he chose when it mattered most." Leia looks at the pyre, her expression unreadable. "I'll never forgive him. You don't have to, but I might someday be able to understand him. How someone could fall so far and still find their way back." Luke nods, taking her hand. brother and sister, children of Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, watch as the flames consume what remains of their father. The Force whispers to Luke, and he senses presences gathering nearby. Obi-Wan, Yoda, the spirits of Jedi past, watching over this moment. But there is a space among them, an absence where Anakin should be. He can't join you, Luke says softly to the air. Can he? The ghost of Obi-Wan materializes, his expression sad but at peace. No. What Windu did cannot be undone, even in death. Anakin's spirit passed on to whatever lies beyond the Force. Is that worse or better? I don't know. But I believe that wherever he is finally free. Free from the dark side that corrupted him. Free from the guilt that haunted him. Free to simply be Anakin Skywalker again. I hope so. Yoda's ghost appears beside Obi-Wan, smaller and more translucent. A complicated man your father was. Great light in him, but great darkness too. Both parts of him, important they were. What do you mean? The prophecy, speak of it we did. The chosen one, bring balance to the Force, he was meant to. Believed we did that destroying the Sith, this meant. But that's not what happened. No. Different the balance was. Light and dark, forever in conflict they were. Feed on each other they did. Growing stronger, the cycle of hatred did. Obi-Wan takes over, his voice gentle. When Windu severed Anakin's connection to the Force, he did something unprecedented. He removed the strongest Force user ever born from the equation entirely. Not light, not dark, simply gone. And that brought balance. In a way no one anticipated. The Force itself felt the loss. The great wound where Anakin should have been. It changed things, Luke. Subtly but profoundly. The dark side is weaker now than it was. The light side too, perhaps. But the endless war between them has been interrupted. Because of my father. Because of his absence. The chosen one fulfilled the prophecy, not through action, but through removal. By being taken out of the Force entirely, he changed its fundamental nature. Luke considers this, looking back at the fading pyre. His father, even in his broken state, even stripped of all power, had still fulfilled his destiny. Not as a hero or a villain, but as something else entirely. A sacrifice, a wound, a change. I don't think he knew, Luke says. I don't think he had any idea. He did not. He believed his condition was purely a punishment, a torment inflicted by Windu out of vengeance. He never understood that it might serve a greater purpose. Should I tell people? Should the galaxy know what he did? Obi-Wan shakes his head. The galaxy will remember Darth Vader as a monster, and they are not wrong to do so. But they will also remember that in the end, he helped destroy the Empire. Let that be his legacy. The complicated truth can remain with those who loved him. Did you still love him? After everything? Always. He was my brother, Luke. Nothing he did could ever completely erase that. The ghosts begin to fade, returning to the luminous existence that awaits all Jedi in death. But before Obi-Wan disappears entirely, he offers one last thought. Your father asked you to rebuild the Jedi, but better than we were. I think he was right. We were afraid of emotion, afraid of attachment, afraid of everything that made us human. We pushed Anakin away when he needed us most, and Palpatine was waiting to catch him. I won't make that mistake. I know you won't. That's why I have hope for what comes next. They vanish, and Luke is alone with Leia beside the dying embers of the pyre. The celebration continues around them, the galaxy rejoicing in its newfound freedom. There will be work to do tomorrow. A new republic to build. A Jedi order to create. challenges that will test everything Luke has learned. But before any of that begins, Luke has one more journey to make. 3 days after the Battle of Endor, he takes a small shuttle to Naboo. In his possession is a small container holding his father's ashes, recovered from the funeral pyre, before the celebration scattered them to the winds. He knows where Anakin would want to rest, has known since the moment his father mentioned Padmé's name, with something like love still in his voice. The tomb of Padmé Amidala stands in the hills above Theed, overlooking the city she once ruled as queen, the planet she served as senator, the home she loved more than anywhere else in the galaxy. The structure is modest but beautiful, white stone that glows gold in the afternoon light, surrounded by gardens that bloom in a riot of color. Luke lands his shuttle in a meadow nearby and walks the rest of the way on foot. He finds the tomb tended but empty. No guards, no mourners, just a peaceful space where a beloved woman was laid to rest. The inscription on the stone is simple: Padmé Amidala, Queen of Naboo, Senator of the Republic, beloved daughter and sister. No mention of wife, no mention of mother. Those secrets were kept even in death. Luke kneels before the tomb and places his hand on the cool stone. Through the Force, he can feel echoes of his mother. Not her spirit, not exactly, but the impressions she left behind, the love she had for her people, the passion she brought to her work, the heartbreak she carried in her final days. "I brought him home," Luke says softly. "I thought you would want him close." He opens the container and gently scatters his father's ashes at the base of the tomb. The wind catches them, swirling them through the garden, mixing them with the soil that will nurture flowers for years to come. He fell far, became something terrible, did things that can never be forgiven. Luke's voice cracks, but he continues. But in the end, he remembered who he was, remembered you, remembered that love matters more than power. He sits in the garden for a long time, watching the sun move across the sky, feeling the presence of both his parents in this sacred space. He never knew either of them. Not really. Padmé died moments after he was born. Anakin was already lost by then, consumed by darkness and despair. But here, in this quiet place, he feels closer to them than ever before. "I wish I could have known you," he tells the tomb. "Both of you. I wish I could have grown up with a mother who sang lullabies and a father who taught me to fly. I wish we could have been a family." The wind stirs the flowers, and for a moment Luke imagines he hears a voice, gentle, loving, proud. "You were always my family. From the moment you were born, I loved you." Tears stream down his face, but he is smiling. Whether it is truly his mother's spirit or simply his own longing given form, the words bring comfort. "I'll make you proud," he promises. "Both of you. I'll build something good out of all this destruction. I'll remember the lessons your lives taught me, even the painful ones. And I'll never forget that even in the darkest night, there is always hope." He stays until sunset, watching the sky turn orange and purple and deep blue. Then he rises, takes one last look at the tomb, and walks back to his shuttle. There is work to be done, a galaxy to rebuild, a future to create. But he carries his parents with him, their love and their sacrifice, their failures and their triumphs. They are part of him, woven into his very being, and nothing can ever take that away. In the years that follow, Luke often returns to Naboo. He brings flowers, tends the garden, sits in peaceful silence with his parents. Leia comes with him sometimes, still struggling with her complicated feelings toward the father who tortured her, but gradually finding a kind of peace. They are Skywalkers, the children of tragedy and hope, of darkness and light. Their father's legacy is complicated, painful, impossible to fully understand. But it is their legacy nonetheless, and they carry it forward into a future brighter than anything Anakin Skywalker could have imagined in his darkest days. The New Republic rises from the ashes of the Empire. Leia becomes one of its founding leaders, channeling her mother's passion for justice and her father's stubborn determination into building something that will last. She faces opposition, setbacks, the inevitable challenges of governance, but she never gives up. Luke establishes a new Jedi Order, just as his father asked. But he builds it differently than the old one. His students are allowed to love, to form families, to experience the full range of human emotion. He teaches them that attachment is not the path to the dark side. Fear of attachment is. The lesson is Anakin's final gift to the galaxy. His fall taught the Jedi what not to do, how not to treat those who struggle with their emotions. His redemption taught them that no one is ever truly lost, that even the deepest darkness can give way to light. Some historians will write that Darth Vader was a monster who found a moment of decency at the very end. Others will argue that Anakin Skywalker was a good man who was corrupted by forces beyond his control. Both perspectives are true, and neither is complete. The full truth is more complicated. It always is. Anakin Skywalker was a slave who dreamed of freedom, a child who loved his mother, a Padawan who wanted to save everyone, a Jedi who fell in love, a man who feared loss so deeply that he destroyed everything trying to prevent it. And then, broken and hollow, stripped of everything that made him special, he found a different kind of strength. Not the power of the Force, but the power of choice, the power to decide who he wanted to be, even when being anything seemed impossible. He chose to be a father, chose to protect his children, chose to sacrifice himself for a future he would never see. Those choices matter. They echo through time, shaping the galaxy in ways both large and small. Every Jedi trained by Luke carries a piece of Anakin's legacy. Every citizen of the New Republic benefits from his sacrifice. Every child born into freedom owes something to the man who helped destroy the chains. The Chosen One brought balance to the Force, but not in the way anyone expected. His presence, his absence, his life and death all combined to reshape the fundamental nature of existence itself. The old patterns of endless conflict between light and dark were disrupted, broken, transformed into something new. What that new balance will look like, no one can say. That is for future generations to discover, to shape, to struggle with. The work of balance is never finished. It must be maintained, tended, fought for every day. But Anakin Skywalker, in all his complexity and contradiction, gave the galaxy a chance. That is more than most beings ever achieve. Years later, when Luke trains his first students in the ways of the Force, he tells them his father's story. Not the sanitized version that appeared in official histories, not the simplistic tale of a villain redeemed at the last moment. The full story, with all its darkness and pain, and eventual fragile hope. He tells them about a slave boy who dreamed of freedom, about a Jedi who loved too deeply and feared too much, about a man who made terrible choices for understandable reasons, who destroyed everything he cared about in trying to save it. He tells them about the severing, about Windu's desperate act that stripped Anakin of everything that made him powerful, about the years of hollow existence, serving an empire he had come to despise, killing for a master he no longer believed in. And he tells them about the choice, the moment when a powerless man, a monster in a machine, decided that his children's future mattered more than his own survival. The moment when Anakin Skywalker chose to be a father instead of an enforcer, a protector instead of a destroyer. His students listen in silence. Some are horrified by the crimes their teacher's father committed. Others are moved by the redemption he found at the end. All of them learn something important about the nature of the Force, of choice, of what it means to be human. The dark side is seductive, Luke tells them. It offers power, certainty, control. It promises to solve all your problems, to protect everyone you love, to make you strong enough to face any threat. But it lies. It always lies. The power it offers comes at the cost of everything that makes power worth having. My father learned that truth too late, and the galaxy paid for his education. But he also learned that redemption is possible, that no matter how far you fall, no matter how much darkness you embrace, there is always a path back to the light. It may be harder than you can imagine. It may cost everything you have. But it exists as long as you have the courage to seek it. My father found that courage in the end, and so can you, if you ever need to. The students carry these lessons with them as they grow, as they become Jedi Knights, as they face their own temptations and trials. Luke's teachings spread through the New Order, creating a culture that is more compassionate, more understanding, more human than the old Jedi ever achieved. Anakin's legacy lives on, not just in his children, but in everyone they touch, everyone they teach, everyone they save. The monster became a lesson, the villain became a warning, and the father became a symbol of hope. Even without the Force, even stripped of everything that made him special, Anakin Skywalker changed the galaxy. That is the truth that matters most. That is the legacy worth remembering. And somewhere beyond the boundaries of the Force, in whatever realm awaits those severed from its embrace, perhaps Anakin has finally found what he sought all along. Peace, forgiveness, love. The flames die down. The ashes cool. And Luke Skywalker turns to face the future, carrying his father's memory like a weight and a gift, a burden and a blessing. The story of Anakin Skywalker is over, but the echoes of his choices continue to ripple outward, touching lives he never knew, shaping futures he could never have imagined. In classrooms across the New Republic, children learn about the hero who fell and the monster who rose, and they learn that the difference between the two is nothing more than choice. In temples where new Jedi train, students meditate on the nature of attachment and fear, learning from Anakin's mistakes so they need not repeat them. In the halls of government, leaders remember what happens when good people fail to act, and they find the courage to speak against tyranny before it takes root. The galaxy is different because Anakin Skywalker lived, because he fell, because he was broken, and because in the end, he chose to be something more than what his darkness made him. That is his true legacy. Not the atrocities he committed, not the empire he helped create, not even the emperor he helped destroy. His true legacy is the simple, powerful truth that choice matters, that redemption is possible, that even the darkest night gives way to dawn. The story of the galaxy is just beginning. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.